Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Rage Gaming Thursday night Pokemon Locals. I am here at Nerd Rage Gaming with my lovely co-host Brian DeVeza. And Brian, how you doing today?
Good, Dan. I'm really excited to be here because we were just coming off of our awesome League Cup that we had last weekend.
Yes,
There were two regionals,
yes,
and we got another one coming up next weekend.
we do, and I'm hyped for Louisville. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, Brian, my name is Dan Hugar. I am here with you, and we haven't done it in a while. So let's
Yeah.
tell the people why they should listen to us. Brian, why should the people listen to you?
Yeah, so I've been talking with you for a while now
This is true.
about Pokemon, and this is going to be my second full season, and definitely been learning a lot really, really quickly.
That's awesome. And I
Yeah.
would agree. You've built great lists. You've been doing really well locally.
Yeah.
And my name is Dan. I'm
Yeah.
competent in the Pokemon trading card game. I
Why,
have
why should they listen to you, Dan?
they should listen to me because I have 10-day twos, a top 8, a bubble out of top 8, 2 global top 16 in the Players Cups during COVID, and just I'm reasonably competent.
Yeah.
So now listen to us talk about our first side of the game. Eli Greenfield, part of the Nerd Rage Gaming team, playing Palkia Dusknoir. And Brian, tell us a bit about this deck.
Yeah, so it was definitely like a really hot deck coming off of our Shrouded Fable format, as I think it got asymmetrical cut in Baltimore. And it's cool because it utilizes the brand new Dusknoir line that has pretty much been terrorizing the game and has been causing a lot of discourse on if it should be banned or not. And the reason why it pairs so well with Palkia is because Palkia is a super easy attacker to power up, just requires 2 energy, has an ability that allows it to power up. So super, super powerful deck when you pair the two together. And
Yeah.
all the items, like the rare candies and stuff like that, can only be used to evolve up those Duskulls.
And speaking of, we
Yeah.
see Eli see a Duskull off of that trekking shoe. And yeah, I think that's one of the best ways the Dusknoir has been used is with a highly efficient attacker as a
Yeah.
partner in Terapagos, which, spoiler alert, we'll talk about in a second, and Palkia, who has such a high damage cap for relatively easy to set up Pokemon. And that's actually relatively decent for Eli, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. And I actually really like where Eli's board is going towards because, I mean, the Night Stretcher is such a powerful item. It was definitely something that wasn't really looked at too much when Shrouded Fable was first announced. But being able to recover either any sort of Pokemon or basic energy is actually a really powerful tool to have.
It is, and I think Eli was kind of hoping to get Squawkabilly there, but
Yeah.
with 3 Night Stretcher in hand, may just have to stick with that.
Yeah, and I kind of liked having the Night Stretcher as well, just because it allows you to recycle the same Pokemon over and over again,
Yes.
which is a really nice thing. Because if you're not drawing into multiple like Dusk Noirs or Dusclops, you can pretty much just use Night Stretcher and be like, hey, I can use this again.
Well, I think that's a big advantage because Dusclops and Dusknoir knock themselves out.
Yeah.
So in order to reuse them, you have to get them back in hand. And why use a Super Rod when you can literally just put them back into your hand?
Yeah, definitely. And I can see the two of those cards kind of coexisting together now. Because I mean, they both have their own uses, and I mean, we've seen it with decks like Regidrago where they play both of them together.
Yes, and also it helps that they both come out in the same set.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so talking about Terapagos a little bit on the other end, Jared is playing the Terapagos Dusknoir deck. Dusknoir just fitting to everything, so we will definitely need to talk about bannable stuff.
Yeah.
But setting up his board of turtle, of owls, of birds, like what is he looking to get, Brian?
Yeah, definitely. So I really like this. He's able to get a Hoot Hoot, a Pidgey, and a Noctowl. And it's really powerful because as soon as a Terra Pokemon enters the board, which is very important, the Noctowl's Jewel Seeking, I believe that's what it's called, ability
Yes.
will allow it to search out for 2 trainers. So it pretty much effectively gets Pidgey out for free.
Which is fantastic. And it looks like Jared does. Does he have an out to Terapagos?
I don't think so. I don't think he wanted to roll the stop either for it.
No, and I think
Yeah.
actually he does have an out to it, but you're right. He did not want to play the Ultra Ball. Save it for Pidgeot or just not put a 2-prizer down that Eli can threaten this turn.
Yeah, definitely. And I do like the idea of him just keeping his board the way it is because I feel like if you overextend a bit, you can definitely get punished for it.
Yes, and I would actually love to see Eli play this Iono here. What do you think?
I like it too. I mean, just give him some fresh hands, see what he can do with it from there. Because I guess like the main thing for him is he wants to get that Ursaluna out, and he also wants to start pressuring with the Dusclops line. So I mean, if he's able to draw into Rare Candy and Dusknoir, then he'll be able to start putting on some pressure a lot easier.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's not really.
not the best hand for Eli, but
I mean, he still has Pokestop, so
and that's what we're gonna
yeah.
pull here. See if Pokestop can pull it off. Not good.
Nope.
Not
No.
good.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Well,
Yeah. So I mean, Eli's not in the worst position right now, just because that Bloodwind Ursaluna is a pretty big body, so it's gonna be staying there for a little bit. So not too much of a threat right now, but it's just too bad Eli won't be able to get too much draw off of this Mew EX, just because he has so many cards left in hand still.
well, do you think yeah, it looks like he's going to go for the restart draw. Do you think that's the right decision?
I do like the decision. But
Oh, no,
I
just going with the pass.
yeah, and I do prefer it this way though, just because I feel like if you put stuff like another Palkia down, which is fine, or like the Spiritomb, then your board just gets a lot more clogged up, and you won't be able to put it down as many Dusclops or Duskulls or anything like that.
And that is very true. And so Eli very nicely asking Jared if he can put down
Yeah,
another Palkia, which agree with that decision.
yeah, stand up guy.
Exactly. All right, so now on Jared's side, we're actually going to get to see that Jewel Seeker be played. So Jewel Seeker is an ability that says if you have a terrestrial Pokemon in play, when you evolve this Pokemon from your hand, you can search your deck for 2 trainer cards, which is bonkers because that is
Yes,
very, very good.
yes, and it's crazy to think about. And I mean, Jared was able to grab Rare Candy and Prime Catcher off of that, which is kind of crazy.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's like two very important cards right away.
And Kat, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Really
hello,
glad to
Kat.
have you here.
Yeah, glad to have you back here again.
And so with Jared getting that, I gotta imagine he's going after the Palkia with energy, right?
Yeah, I would think so too. I mean, it's just such an easy target to get, and I mean, if you have a free way to search out the Prime Catcher, I don't see why not.
So the one thing Eli could have going for him here is, oh, hello, Adam. We'll see that Palkia knocked out, but with this, excuse me, Jared filling his board, that was so hard to say apparently. There is an opportunity for Eli to knock out this Pidgeot EX with Palkia V-Star. And that could be a big counterplay for him.
Yeah, definitely. And part of me is wondering, is there a way for Eli to get more than 5 Pokemon? Does he play a Terra?
He doesn't need to
Yeah.
because Jared's going to fill his board.
Okay.
So
Definitely.
Jared will fill his board with 8, plus the 5 on Eli's end puts you at 13. That's 260 plus 60. We are at 320 damage for Palkia,
Yeah.
which is as a lot.
Those are some big numbers that Palkia was not able to do in the previous format. And seeing the double boof on the bench is definitely a
Yes.
really big portion to this as well.
So the one advantage though for Eli is double boof only benefits basic colorless Pokemon. So
Yes.
this Pidgeot EX still stays at 280. But is there anything else you want Jared to be doing this turn?
I do like where he's at right now. I would have liked the secondary attacker, but I feel like it's pretty easy to get one now that you have the Pidgeot in play. So I feel like you can kind of get away with having just those single Terrapagos and try to rely on the Dusknoir line the next turn if it gets knocked out.
And that makes complete sense, because if this Terrapagos does get knocked out, Jared will have to drop his bench down. But you can get rid of stuff like Fanrotom, maybe the Badoo, or maybe the Bouffalant. Like, he has options available.
Yeah, definitely. So going into this next turn, let's see what Eli draws here. Can't really see the hand. Oh, it's a rare candy.
Not the most
Not
helpful.
the most helpful, but being able to start with Iono is really nice just because Jared has 4 cards now, so it's definitely going to limit his resources going into his next turn.
And especially if Eli is able to knock out this Pidgeot EX, he's going to be in a really good position.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
And that is a good hand for Eli.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely going to be able to set up some more stuff on the board. Got another Duskull there. Has the Ultra Ball for the Palkia, so there's definitely a lot of pieces that Eli will be able to do. And if he's not able to take out that Pidgeot, at the bare minimum, he'll be able to at least take out the Terrapagos.
Yes, absolutely. And so Eli just needing to sequence this well because he does need to Ultra Ball for the Palkia V-Star. I don't mind the Dusclops coming down.
Yeah. Do you think this is going to get popped?
I don't think so because I don't know what math it fixes unless there's something I'm missing here.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it might be a thing just to thin the hand. That's what I'm sort of thinking right now.
That's my thought as well. I would almost, I guess, just knowing then we're not going to use Dusclops here, at this point, Eli's really just digging for Prime Catcher. And I don't know how likely it is that he hits Prime Catcher without
Yeah.
putting a Pokestop in play.
Definitely. And one thing that I do like based off of the testing that I've done with this deck is I don't feel as bad when I'm discarding rare candy anymore just because, it's the only thing that you're evolving. Like I feel like
Yes.
with like decks like Charizard or like Dragapult, or cards that you need multiple stage 2 evolution lines, I'd feel so awful if I had to, discard a rare candy or important piece like that.
Well, and that's one thing with resource management is the scarcity of resources.
Yeah.
Like, where are you most limited? And like you said, for this deck, you have leeway with rare candies because you would only use it for Dust Noir, not your main attacker. And Kat, I'm sorry you couldn't make it down, but I'm super happy to have you here and chat with us. So thank you for joining.
Yeah, still here in spirit, which is really nice.
Yes. All right, so we have the energy. We have the Radiant Greninja. Why do you think we're doing this before drawing with Greninja?
Um, so that's a good question, actually. So the thing that I'm wondering is that the Bouffalon is influencing
So it
the
affects
damage.
the Fan Rotom, the Bouffalons themselves,
Yeah.
the Terapagos, and then the Hoot Hoot.
Okay.
Fly, welcome to the party.
What's going on, Colin?
So my guess then here is what Eli's deciding to do is go after the Duskull. What do you think of that play?
Yeah, I don't. The Duskulls. Okay, I can get behind that. Just because they do pose a very big threat, and with this, I believe Jared will just be returning with one prize for the knockout, while Jared would really have to work to get that 2 prize knockout. I don't think there's really anything that he could knock out here.
So Jared could definitely take
Yeah.
out the Mew EX.
Oh, the Mew, definitely.
And that's definitely within range.
Yeah.
Outside of that, though, you're right. Eli would have a board of the 260 HP Bear, which obviously is out of range,
Yeah.
and then the Palkia. But the risk then is he can't really afford to pop any of these Dusknoir.
Yeah, and I think just having the threat of the single prizer in the active is definitely good too, just because it makes Jared have to just, get rid of another resource.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can always search things out with Pidgeot EX, but again, that uses your quick search for turn.
Yeah, and there might have been another thing that Jared was like really thinking about quick searching for the previous turn, and he won't be able to do that now. Kind of changes his plans.
Exactly. And it's forcing your opponent to use more resources to enact their game plan. Like, that's one of the reasons why this Dusknoir package is so strong, because you can just disrupt and break apart your opponent's game plan before they're able to take the action they want. And Eli got an Irida off the prizes, which is a big hit for him.
Yeah, definitely. And this helps Eli out, I feel, a lot, just because that Dusclops on the bench hasn't been touched, and I don't know if it is like threatened to be touched. And then he has rare candy in hand as well, so like Irida can grab something like the Night Stretcher, and then he can start to threaten the Bouffalons on the bench, or even the Terapagos in the active.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Eli is in a position where he's still maybe going to be able to win before Jared takes all of his prizes, but it's going to depend on what Jared gets here, and that boss's orders is pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I do like having the Gust here available, and it just shows how powerful putting both Noctowl and Pidgeot are together, because
Yes.
as soon as you string one together, you pretty much just get 2 more item cards or like 2 more trainer cards along with it.
Well, it's back in the day, Palkia, Inteleon, it was Irida got you your Drizzile, which got you
Yeah.
a trainer card, and then an actual item card with it.
Like the bucket.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. All right, so we do see the Night Stretcher for the Duskull, and now Eli's got to be thinking about his prize map here, because Radiant Greninja is not going to be able to snipe again very easily.
Yeah, definitely. And now Eli's going to really be thinking about how he's going to, approach the next part of his turn. Ooh, I like this.
Ooh, I don't know if I like this. Why do you think it's a good play?
Yeah, just because it's a threat, and Jared is probably thinking that Eli is going to go for the double Dusknoir play.
I see, to try to
Yeah,
close out the game
and try
with
to close
double
out.
Dusknoir on Terapagos, knock out Pidgeot EX.
Yeah, so I think Jared's just trying to get that away and just far away from him as possible.
And that makes sense. And I think this is something I need to keep practicing going to
Yeah.
Louisville is what kind of math does the Dusknoir line fix?
Yeah, definitely. And another thing too is how much are you willing to give to your opponent with the Dusknoir line? Like when I was
Yes.
testing it earlier, playing Lugia into this matchup, I just figured that the prizes that the Palkia Dusknoir player was giving me was just getting me closer to game, just because I could just take the extra prizes and then just amp for 3, and I pretty much win the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So for Eli, here's the thing I'm seeing, Brian, and tell me if you disagree. I think he needs to evolve up this Duskull, although
Yes.
Greninja's still in Loue. I think he needs to knock out that Pidgeot EX more so than anything else here.
Yeah, definitely. And just because the Pidgeot EX pretty much opens the turn because it's the one that's searching out the Noctowl. Unless Jared has an out to Noctowl like anymore, Eli's just trying to put as much pressure as he can by knocking out the big two prizer that really helps him to take advantage of his turn to the fullest.
Yes. And so with 12 Pokemon down, that is 2-4. Yes. So Eli has more than enough damage available to knock out this Pidgeot EX if that is the play he decides to make.
Yeah, so I'm wondering to see how Jared will be able to respond to this next turn, but Eli is definitely sequencing out this turn definitely the right way.
So the only thing I'm curious about is I think Eli wants to try to use Dusknoir to knock out the Duskull on Jared's bench and then knock out
Yeah.
the Pidgeot EX, but oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this is probably going to be Night Stretcher for Dusk Noir, Rare Candy.
That would make complete
Yeah.
sense. And so maybe then the move is Dusknoir to knock out Pidgeot, or to put the damage on Pidgeot EX, and then knock out the Terrapagos with Palkia, and say now your lone two-prizer is in range of my Palkia knockout if you don't bench Terrapagos. But Brian, is there a different line?
See, my thing about this line here is that if Jared's able to get a Gust, then, I mean, he's going to be down to two prizes. Knocking out that Mew EX is going to be super easy. So that's my only concern with this line.
And I would agree. So going in now with the Palkia, knocking out the Terrapagos, if Jared has an out to Blood Moon Ursaluna, if Jared
Mhm.
has an out to another Terrapagos, Pidgeot's going to be able to set up the knockout.
Yeah, and it's tough too because the double Bouffalant definitely hurts the Blood Moon Ursaluna play. Yeah,
Yes.
so it's not going to be able to take that knockout very cleanly.
So, and
Yeah.
here's the issue I had with benching the Mew is I think he's only used restart once.
Yeah, I think the main thing also is like being able to use a really nice like free pivot, but when your pivot is like probably the most liable of a two prize liability on the board, it's kind of iffy if it's actually like the right thing to bench.
Right. Is
Yeah,
it worth the payoff of putting that liability in play? And we
yeah.
see the concealed
So the
cards.
concealed cards here is going to draw water, and I think that's an ultra ball or a catcher.
Counter catcher.
Ooh,
Ooh.
counter catcher. Ooh, maybe counter catcher would be able to get the knockout on the Pidgeot.
It definitely
Nice one.
could.
Let's see. Is that?
And we are at 7, 10,
I
200.
think he's just short.
He's one Pokemon
Yeah, he's
short of
one
the
short.
knockout.
Yeah, that's so tough.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And there's no way to search another Pokemon out of the deck, so
Yeah.
we are so close.
So close.
Oh, but we're going in. We're going to try to thin with this. Are we going to go for the Pidgeot EX knockout with restart?
Ooh, the restart. Ooh, actually, now that you think about it, has Eli attached return yet?
I don't believe he has, because I think he did attack with. No, that's a lie. He did attach return to the Palkia V-Star.
Ooh, vacuum.
Vacuum. Not the most helpful.
But I don't know if this is the okay. I can kind of get behind this just because it makes Jared have to pick. Does he want the double Bouffalant still? Like,
Right.
what are some of the things he gets rid of? I feel like the Fan Rotom's kind of a no-brainer. The Noctowls are kind of a no-brainer.
And that's my thought.
Yeah.
Fan Rotom Noctowl, and then just leave a Hoot Hoot in play.
Yeah.
Oh, double Noctowl. Interesting.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind this. Oh, he
Oh,
can keep one on.
Yeah, you only need to get rid of two
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, and I kind of like this just because being able to keep the double Bouffalant prevents the Ursaluna play, which is definitely really big. But the only thing now is that it's going to be hard for Eli to clean up these last three prizes just because there's no clean knockout taken on the Pidgeot EX.
Well, and that's my question is, there's no Duskull in play, so why does setting up this Pidgeot for a two-shot, close out Eli's, game plan?
Yeah, I don't really think it does, to be honest.
So the one
Yeah.
advantage that Eli has is Jared now has to figure out. Actually, I don't even know why I said that. All Jared needs to do is get a Noctowl. And if we get a Noctowl and we get a Stadium and we get a Gust, I'm pretty sure Jared just wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lot to ask for, I feel like.
Well, not
Yeah.
really, because all Jared has to do is use Pidgeot EX to go get a Noctowl.
Yeah.
And that can be Noctowl itself. It could be a Night Stretcher. And it's just if Jared has another Gust in deck to
Yeah.
go with an Area 0.
See, my thing is, I don't know how much Gust these decks actually play just because, I mean, you have so many Pokemon that you need to slot in the list. So I feel like most of these lists are playing maybe one boss and like what was the ace spec that he's playing? Prime Catcher?
Prime Catcher, and he's
Yeah.
already used the Prime Catcher and
Yeah.
used the boss's orders. Oh, so maybe that's correct. Maybe there is sorry, maybe there is no out for Jared to gust here, which is a big
Yeah.
deal.
It definitely is a big deal.
Say it again.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
not that helpful right
yeah,
now.
it's definitely not helpful right now. Yeah.
No, Rafal is in here providing additional guidance. Also, I'm sorry for being distracted. My dog just tore a hole in our comforter, and I've texted
Oh
my wife so
no.
that way she is not too upset.
Yeah.
She is pregnant again, to be clear, so I'm trying to make sure I'm being a good husband
Yes.
while I'm being here talking about Pokemon. All right, so Brian, what is Jared trying to do then here?
I mean, he wants to load up the bench, and I don't know if there's the threat of the big knockout here, but he definitely just wants a big bench just so he can get an easy out, like almost like a checkmate board state
Right.
is what he's looking for here. So if he's got like Duskulls available, another Terapagos with energy on it, he really just wants to be able to have the checkmate available.
And we see the benching of the Terapagos and DTE, which I don't know if there's a downside to put that down. Are
Yeah,
you seeing something?
I don't see why not. I mean, if it's gonna get discarded anyways, might as well use it.
So the only other thing is he probably could have benched that Blood Moon Ursaluna, unless there's another line he's concerned about.
Yeah. So my thing with the Ursaluna is I feel like Eli would look at that as a potential stall target, but I don't know if Jared knows that Eli is probably out of Gus now.
That is fair.
Yes.
All right, so we can use our Night Stretcher to get a Hoot Hoot down, open up another line. Oh, and this is where resources are so tough for Eli because now we could use something like Radiant Greninja, but there's just no really way to accelerate the energy there.
Yeah, and if I'm counting correctly, does Jared have the numbers here for the Palkia V-Star knockout?
No, so Terapagos only accounts for bench Pokemon on your side
Oh,
of the
on
board.
your side of the board. Okay.
So right now it's capping at 220 damage.
Okay, I don't know why I keep counting on both sides of the board.
No, because that's what Palkia
yeah,
does, so it's a little confusing.
I know.
All right, so Jared looks like no win in hand, is able to hit in that Palkia, and then basically say, all right, you got to knock me out with something else that doesn't allow me to just win the game next turn.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how Eli will go about this. I mean, the research in hand is really nice. The the Fez is nice, but it can't really be used here.
Honestly, the Fez doesn't seem that helpful here.
It doesn't, just because no knockout was taken, but
Right.
part of me wants to see the potential. Oh, but the Ursalunic play can't really happen though because of the double Bufalon. I was like thinking, it's like, oh, what if you just like
So
retreat out? For it?
Ursaluna can happen on the Pidgeot EX.
Yes.
And yes, Eli, I agree with the restart here because you need to hit Prime Catcher,
Yes.
if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, and seeing the 10 cards instead of 7 cards is definitely, I feel like, the right move to make here.
Yes. So let's see.
Ooh.
So we see
Greninja EX and a
Duskull.
Spiritomb.
A Spiritomb. Not the
Yeah.
most helpful card.
Yeah, not the most helpful, but I mean, hopefully the research will be able to get him there. As Eli looks very, very concerned.
Wildly uncomfortable
Yeah.
here. All right, so we see the 7 cards.
Do we see a purple card? We do not see a purple card.
Oh,
Oh,
we do see a Pokestop.
Pokestop. So this is interesting now because Jared's going to have to make a decision here. It's like, what else do you take out of play here? It's probably going to end up being like Noctowl, Fanrotom, Hoot, and maybe the second Terapagos, or maybe the Hoot Hoot.
I think you definitely keep Hoot. I think at this point you keep Hoot Hoot, Double Buffalo, Terapagos, but you maybe be okay to ditch the Pidgeot EX.
Yeah, I can definitely see getting rid of the Pidgeot EX just because, I mean, it's kind of like how Collapse was used as like a healing mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you can't do that.
Can't do that.
Oh.
No. Yep, good. Jared caught him. Good. Nice job, Jared, being a good sport about it. So we can still use that Night Stretcher to get some energy back for Greninja to draw, but then we're kind of hoping to find energy for Blood Moon.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think this is exactly the conundrum Eli's dealing with is I would need to hit exactly Prime Catcher, Night Stretcher off of this.
Oh, it's so tough to see. But it really shows like this is going to be a matchup that we see in a lot of the next like upcoming format.
Yes.
So being able to see it right now and see our players sort of like think through and theory craft their way through the matchup is really interesting to see.
I agree. And Eli, excellent player. Jared, obviously, it's weird seeing him play a deck without water Pokemon, but
Yeah.
incredibly skilled player.
Yes.
And I've tested and played with Jared a little bit, and just the lines this man thinks of, he thinks so quickly and so efficiently. It is impressive. And Eli, hoping to hit that high roll. We'll see if he pulls it off.
He's thinking about it, but I mean, I feel like if you've already committed for it, you might as well go for it, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so we will see. Will we see? I don't know. Are we
I
going to
don't
see?
know.
Jared being kind of not saying pace of play, sir. Ah,
uh,
debating the attachment, but we will conceal cards.
yeah, I think the concealed is probably the right play here. And then you can sort of see what you want to do from there with the Pokestop.
Those weren't really that good.
Yeah, they weren't that good, so I feel like the Pokestop has to go down now.
Yes, and now we get to see what Jared decides to discard. And do you think he's going to keep the Pidgeot in play?
I hope he takes it out of play.
I would
yeah.
agree. I think that is the move, just to take the Pidgeot out of play.
Yeah, take the Pidgeot out of play, and it's actually gonna kind of hurt Eli because I mean now his only way to attack is going to be with this Palkia on the active, which you kind of really wanted to get off of the board.
Well, there is an option or opportunity to hit a Night Stretcher off of the Pokestop to get an energy and attack with Blood Moon Ursaluna.
Yeah, there is that opportunity, but I don't know if it's the most optimal.
The tough part is the Blood Moon Ursaluna would not take a knockout on Terrapagos.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a lie.
Yeah.
If we get rid of a Buffalo, it certainly will. What do you think about that move?
Wow, it's an interesting play. I'm like wondering why just get rid of one. I feel like if you wanted to get rid of one, might as well get rid of both, right?
I would tend to agree with that, unless
Yeah.
Jared's thinking he can get it back next turn.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. So we have a Dusknoir in hand. We have a Pheasantipity in hand.
Oh, the Prime Catcher.
Oh, man. So do we want to use that now is the question.
I think we have to. I mean, does Eli have a way to...
Eli does
Oh,
not
he
have a
does
way to attach.
not. Oh, that's so tough.
And so then this is the difficulty is, what do you do if you're Eli?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are at least 2 more Night Stretcher in that deck.
Yeah.
So let's see that Nest Ball.
And this is kind of like what we were
Well,
talking
there's one
about.
Night Stretcher in deck. Okay, so
Yeah.
the odds were not super high.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of like what Jared was thinking while putting down that secondary attacker is because he pretty much has a checkmate board, say, at this point. It's like, you know, if you are able to get the knockout on the Pidgeot, I mean, I just come back and knock out with Terrapagos EX.
Yep. And Eli certainly doesn't.
And I feel like Eli needs to attack here just so he can further his board here.
Well, so and that's a tough question then is
Yeah.
the only attacker he has available is Palkia.
Yeah, Palkia is the only thing that can attack right now.
All right, so we see the retreat into Radiant Greninja. Oh, man.
And then the pass here.
So here's the thing. I actually don't mind the pass here, but if Jared has a way to evolve this Dusknoir. Oh, and there it is. The Dusknoir knockout on the Palkia, taking the last 2 prizes. And I mean, Palkia Dusknoir just kind of didn't show up for a good part of that.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of has to do with Eli's early game. Like, he wasn't really able to set up too much here, right?
Right.
Like, there weren't many Duskulls that were entering play. I mean, there was only the one, like, Palkia there, like, the whole time.
Yes, Jeff, Eli had used his V-Star.
He did use the V-Star. And I think the V-Star was to get the Greninja off.
Yes.
And I don't know, there was never really a portion where Eli felt like he was ahead. It was kind of like he felt like he had to catch up the entire game.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think one of the tougher parts of that is Eli's decision, too, to hit into the Pidgeot EX makes sense if you're going to be able to take a multi-prize turn to catch up, but he didn't really have the outs to do so.
Yeah, he didn't. And it's like, I guess you could think about it in the way where maybe you should have just attacked into the Terrapagos instead. But
Right.
But when you commit to the play, you kind of have to go all in on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bryce, do we have a second game? We are heading over to our second game here where we have very similar. Oh, and we have game over.
They just did.
All right.
Shout out to Nikita. He's playing my deck again.
And so what Nikita is playing is Lugia versus Reno playing Palkia Dusknoir himself. And it looks like we just had a game closed out by a Speedwing from Archeops.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the Palkia Dusknoir. We already talked through a little bit. What is that matchup like into Lugia, Brian?
I feel like it's heavily favored for Lugia. I was playing this like while we were waiting to do this tonight.
Okay.
And I found that Lugia kind of just runs it over as like especially if Lugia goes first, you can kind of get the first two prizes. I feel like Dusknoir giving prizes to Lugia helps it just because you can definitely oppress the Palkia player more with stuff like Iron Hands, and it speeds up your ability to use like Ursaluna and stuff like that too.
Yes, and that
So
makes
yeah,
sense. You have a lot of similar attackers available on the Lugia side
yeah,
because you're still relying on colorless, efficient attackers.
yeah. There have definitely been times where I've like punched with Lugia V Star into a Palkia V Star, clean up with Iron Hands, and then like you play 4 boss, you can like Gust Squawk ability and take 3 prizes off of that too.
So I really need to stress how much I hate this stupid deck. But do you think Lugia could be a good play into Louisville?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be one of the top decks, and I feel like part of the like resurgence of Iron Thorns is kind of coming back just because of that.
I could see that. So
Yeah.
I'm mentioning Iron Thorns. One of the, and Bryce, you want to go to the mid screen, but one of the main decks, and actually, Bryce, you just want to throw up a deck we had from Sunday? Perfect, thank you. So one of the main things that we had as a huge surprise deck for at least winning Worlds was Iron Thorns.
Yep.
We saw Lugia have a ton of success in the Dortmund and Joinville regionals. And now going forward, we see Pidgeot EX using Rulebox. We
Yep.
have like Ursaluna. We have Pheasantipity. There are so many Rulebox Pokemon in the game that, man, maybe Iron Thorns is not a bad play.
Yeah, definitely. And there's not really like a deck that relies on single prizers that's like really, really prevalent right now. Like Lost Box isn't really that existent right now.
Right.
Um,
God, I wish it was good.
yeah, definitely. And that was one of those decks that really utilized like small one prizers in order to have an influence on prize trade. But what I think this is towards list, right?
Yeah, so this is towards
Yeah.
list, the Terrapagos, Dusknoir list. But kind of to your point about Thorns, you're right.
Yeah.
There are very few decks that rely on a rule box draw engine.
Yeah.
God. So it's tough then because Thorns shuts that down and you throw a Judge or something into the play and just
Yeah. And Lost City.
yeah, and Lost City to clear out any like main attackers or any
Yeah.
threats. Like that's scary.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like Terrapagos is kind of like one of those decks that's kind of outfitted to deal with Iron Thorns, just because the Unified Beatdown is a pretty solid attack. It won't be able to reach the 240 all the time, just because there's a lot of things that are needed. But being able to take advantage of Bouffalant, there's nothing that has an ability that's really like super super needed.
Mhm.
I mean, it'd be nice to have the quick search. It'd be nice to have the flip the script, but
Yeah.
you can win the matchup without it.
No, absolutely. And I think it's because you're so efficient. You need a single attachment
Yep.
in order to do a very big amount of damage. And you have Noctowl as your actual search engine and draw engine for the deck. And that doesn't have a rule box.
Yeah, and you can also use Dusknoir to take the big knockouts too. So you
Yes.
definitely have a lot of pieces to work with, and I think that Terrapagos is going to be one of the hottest, probably the most hottest deck going into the weekend.
And it had such a huge conversion rate into
Yeah.
day two
It was
in
like
Dortmund.
30%, something like that.
It
Yeah,
was absolutely insane. And I don't think we know the full conversion rate for Joinville, but
yeah,
still, like the deck has a ton of power and it's not an easy deck to play.
yeah, and it was definitely surprising to see a lot of big names playing it, and hearing about the amount of people who are like, "This deck is so broken. I'm thinking about booking like a $2,000 last minute
Yes.
flight in order to go into it."
I love it. Well,
Yep.
let's take a quick second, get pairings up, and then we'll jump right back on for our next round. Welcome back, everyone. We have our next round set up here. We have Rafal playing Palkia, very, very similar list to Eli and
Yep.
Reno's, against Jonathan playing Chi and Pao, and that's kind of an interesting matchup.
Yeah, it definitely is. Chin Pao has been something we haven't seen in a long time, but definitely has some. I feel like it has some merit in the deck. Like, I don't know. It's just like when you have something that can like do so much damage, like uncapped damage. It's always gonna have a place in the meta. I feel like.
It's one of those things where
Yeah.
it has to be decent. And I don't know if it actually is,
Yeah.
but it's got all the markings of something being decent. And it looks like we actually have a relatively solid hand, except for the lack of draw supporter.
Yeah.
But we do have what looks like a Frigibax available. We'll get an Ultra Ball for something else, maybe a Bidoof.
Yeah.
And we have a Barrel.
Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty much all the things you really need. Being able to have turn 1 Frigibacks is probably the biggest priority, and the fact that a 1-prizer is starting, I mean, it's definitely good to have just in case a turbo deck is on the other side. But
Right.
it's not really something that Roth needs to worry about.
Well, we do also have, it looks like Greninja EX in this deck, which, I mean, you're already playing rare candies. You're playing
Yeah.
Irida Surf for water Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's probably a pretty good inclusion.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we see the Bidoof, we see the Frigibax. I imagine if there is a Frigibax in hand, that's going down too. And starting Greninja's fine.
Yeah, I definitely like it. Being able to have something that's able to draw you cards and has a pretty easy retreat cost to accomplish are two really easy things to have.
Yes. All right, so on Rafal's side, we have a couple Ultra Ball hand, and we also have a ton of rare candies in hand, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Just because it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you like having them, you like want. It's like not too bad to, um, you know, get rid of them, like maybe one or two. But if like you're trying to squawk away 3 of them,
Yeah,
not
that
the right.
just hurts.
It hurts. It really does hurt.
Because especially into a matchup like Chi and Pao, you're going to want to use those Dust more to
Yeah.
clear out the barrel, to clear out the Chi and Pao themselves.
Mhm.
So it would suck to not be able to play many of those.
Yeah, definitely.
And yes, the tank top for Rafal is stunning, to be
Yes.
honest with you.
I'm surprised that he's wearing it because it's actually kind of cold out now.
It is. All right, so we actually see an Irida and a Buddy Poff, and so I don't know about you, Brian, but it sounds to me like Rafal doesn't need to squawk here.
Yeah, he doesn't. He definitely doesn't need to, and it feels so nice because the Irida is going to be able to grab you the Palkia, and having the Buddy Poffin being able to grab you your Duskulls. Oh, it's so nice.
Well, so here's a question for you: do you think you get 2 Duskull here?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so
Yeah,
and
I think you need to. Honestly, I would probably try to grab more, to be honest, just because there is a threat of Greninja next turn.
yes, and that is exactly my question:
Yeah.
is it worth it to get multiple Duskull, or do you need to get 3? Do you need to get 3 Duskull, 2 Palkia V? Like, how do you go about setting up this turn?
Yeah, 3 Palkia V, or no, two Palkia V is definitely nice. I don't think Palkia V is really going to be much of like a target as much as the Duskulls will be.
Well, so we do have, and it looks like Roth is just getting 1 Duskull going that line. Even though we see the Greninja active,
Yeah.
Chi and Pao still Chi and Pao.
Yeah.
There's a very, very easy ability for Chi and Pao to go in and knock out a 2-prizer on the bench.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm guessing that Roth is trying to just prioritize Palkia just because of the
Yes.
ability to accelerate the energies. And it'll be nice because I think that one line that Roth might be seeing is the potential to use Greninja on his turn too.
Yes, especially if Jonathan's unable to evolve up his board, that Greninja can be a huge deal.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm wondering how Roth's going to end up his turn here as he finishes his shuffle. And I think he's used concealed cards already, so maybe this
has.
might just be an attach and then a passive turn.
And actually, I love that decision to say
Yeah.
if you want to go in with Greninja, you're only going to get 1 prize.
Yep.
If you do try to go in with a Chi and Pao or something, sure, you'll get 2 prizes. I'll take it right back. And he'll have the ability to knock out the barrel.
Yeah, definitely. So Jonathan is able to get the barrel up, which is really nice. And now I think the thing that we're trying to wonder is if you Pokestop first or if you use barrel first.
And I think
Yeah.
I would have liked to see the barrel first,
Yes,
but what about you?
I agree too. Just because I mean the Pokestop could get you more cards in hand, but now Jonathan's not able to use the barrel, so now he'll have to thin the hand out a little bit more, and all of this could have really been solved a little bit more, and he would have had more cards in hand if he used the barrel first.
So
Yeah.
we did just mention Jared Grimes, CEO of Chi and Pao. Don't at me, Grandson. And the reason I think it's so impressive to do well with that deck is This is a hard deck to play.
Yeah, it's easy on the surface. I mean, it's very beginner friendly in the way that, it's got a very straightforward plan. Like um, you have ability that allows you to put all this energy on one Pokemon and it goes boom.
Yes.
But in order to use it to the best of its abilities and to use it to like the potential that it has, you need to be able to sequence it properly and you need to be able to take advantage of all the abilities at the right times.
And sequencing is
Yeah.
such a big deal with this deck because you are reliant on one, maybe two, if you have a good draw, but
Yeah.
barrel to see your entire deck, and then Irida to search out 2 cards. So Irida is super powerful, but it's powerful in a limited directed sense. And
Yeah.
you need a bunch of pieces in Qianpao, so it's important to go be able to draw into that combo, especially across your turn. So now Jonathan able to get a couple energy out with this energy recycler, going to get the rare candy back Excalibur, but he's not really in a good spot.
Yeah, but being able to get the rare candy back Excalibur, that's like half the half the battle with this
That is
deck.
true, yes.
So being able to do that, you can definitely call that an accomplishment in its sense. But interesting seeing that we have the Kyogre here, though. It's definitely a card that hasn't really seen too much play, but being able to have it is definitely nice.
And we
Yeah.
are going to be able to see, I think, the wave summoning. So
Yeah.
search your deck for energy. Wait, did we already draw with the barrel?
No.
Oh, you're right. We drew
Yeah.
with
We use
Greninja.
Pokestop and Greninja.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe we are still gaming here. We are not.
Yeah, we are not gaming, unfortunately.
Yes. And we already did retreat.
Yes.
So we're not going to be able to go into Chi and Pow. And I don't think any of those search energy out of the deck.
No, unfortunately. So I definitely agree with what Sharper has. Is like I think that Bibarel is going to become also a very big Dust Noir target
Yes.
as well. So it's definitely going to be. I feel like it's going to be in a similar boat as Manaphy.
Well, so honestly,
Yeah.
my ideal turn for here for a fall is knock out that Bibarel, use Palkia to knock out that Baxcalibur, and say, I don't really care about your Chi and Pow on the board.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, and the nice thing about that too is that it puts Roth back on even pricing, which is definitely a really big.
Oh, and choosing not to use wave summoning from the Kyogre.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's just a slight misplay. Maybe it's just Jonathan not having to be in the situation to ever use that attack.
True.
Yeah.
And that definitely could be it. All right, and so I like this. Let's see the Greninja draw first for a fall. We see the Night Stretcher, and then is that a Dust Noir?
I think that's a Dusclops. Actually, it looks like a Dust Noir.
It looks like a
Yeah.
Dust Noir. That's actually a huge deal.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't great.
That wasn't great, but being able to still have the Night Stretcher is super huge here, and I think there's an Ultra Ball as well. So Rob's definitely able to accomplish this play here.
He is. So we will be able to see a Palkia V-Star. We'll also be able to see a Dusknoir knockout on Bibarel if we want to, and I don't see a reason why not to.
Yeah, definitely.
And I agree, Sharper, because being able to then just access the Blood Moon Ursaluna later is a huge deal. And Squawk, you just want out of the deck anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And late game scenarios, being able to Dusk Noir, Bibarel, then Iono, definitely put decks like these at a very big disadvantage because that's their whole draw engine.
Yes. All right, so we will see the Ultra Ball, away Rare Candy, and I got to imagine Duskull.
Yep.
To likely go in and get the Palkia V-Star unless Rafal wants to draw with Mew.
Yeah, and I think that it's nice to get rid of the Duskull and the rare candy too, because the Night Stretcher in his hand will be able to grab that Duskull back and put it back on the bench to replace the one that got knocked out.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so Rafal setting up really well, honestly, even with a very limited draw up to this point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he hasn't been blessed with the greatest starting hand, but he was able to make the most of it. I mean, being able to get all those energies into the discard will enable him to use the Palkia V-Star. And then he was able to search a lot with the Earthen Vessels, and that was really how he was able to get the hand that he has now.
For sure. And so we'll see here if Rafal decides to pop the Dust Noir. Oh, we're going with the V-Star first, so maybe we...
Ooh.
Oh! What do you think about this play?
I like this. This is interesting because you use the Dusk Noir to thin out, to make stuff like the Chen Pao have lower HP.
Yeah.
And then you can clean up with Gradient Greninja.
Interesting. So we are going to knock out the Chi and Pow with Radiant Greninja. And I mean, I got to imagine we shove this damage on Bibarel.
Yeah, I like it on the Bibarel too, because if another Duskull would have been set up if Ralph used the
With a
the
Night
Night
Stretcher.
Stretcher,
Yeah.
the Dusclops would have been enough to knock out the Bibarel.
And I actually would have loved to see him put down that Duskull, but I mean, this is still a good turn.
Yeah, this is still fine. And it's nice too that he was able to keep one energy onto the Palkia, because if this Greninja is not able to stay alive too much longer, Palkia is just one energy away from easily attacking again.
And I agree. I think, and Sharper, to your point, I don't think there was an out to knock out the Baxcalibur, and putting 90 damage on the Baxcalibur would leave it with 70 HP remaining, so it still wouldn't be able to be knocked out by a Dusclops, just a Dusknoir. So a lot more resources would have to go into it, and for the Bibarel, not needing a rare candy to take a bonus prize feels like maybe a little more achievable for a fall.
Yeah, definitely. And it also, keeps Raph on his current prize map, as well as it puts him ahead in the game right now, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Sharper, I see what you mean, knocking out the backs in the first place. And honestly, that could have been the best play. I think Rafal's still in a pretty good spot, though, taking 2 prizes there, especially with Jonathan being on odd prizes.
Yeah, and I think he's trying to take advantage of the fact that this Kyogre is in the active, and it's kind of hard to get out of the active. It has a 3
Yes.
retreat cost. Even though the attack is like pretty good, being able to like snipe something, it's nothing. It's not going to really take that much meaningful damage. But if Jonathan was able to get the Kyogre out of the active and the Chen Pao into the active, I mean that thing can knock out anything.
Yes. Ooh, and we see the counter catcher up of the Palkia V-Star. Now, are we going to see an out to Chien Pao and then a knockout here?
Yeah, if that's able to happen, I mean Jonathan's pretty much right back in the driver's seat here, just because that was Roth's like secondary attacker. That was going to be the thing that is going to put in the most work for him to end this game.
Yes. And so, even though Ralph would be able to get out the Blood Moon Ursaluna, he wouldn't be able to attack with it because he would still need 2 attachments.
Yeah, so I'm thinking this Ultra Ball here might grab another Chin Pao, and I think he's got Irida in hand. So the Irida could possibly grab him, something like an Earthen Vessel, in order to get more energy in play.
Yes. And so, Brian, tell me about the sequence of this turn. What would you like to see from Jonathan's end?
From Jonathan's end, so I like the way that he's thinned out his hand, so that he's able to take advantage of the barrel while it's still there. Let me see what this last card is. I think
It is
this is
an
Irida.
Irida.
So Irida can grab something like, I don't know, like a. Ooh, is he drawing with the barrel?
Yes.
Okay, so I would have liked to see the Irida first. I don't know if that's the optimal play, but I feel like being able to thin it out more than that, like the deck out of more of stuff, will be able to help you draw into stuff that you really need, like superior energy retrieval or anything else like that.
So I think he did sequence that very well in
Yeah.
doing the barrel first because you would want to see the retrieval without using Irida to search for it.
That's fair. Yeah,
So
definitely.
you want to save that one search card to be able to go get the things you don't hit. So what I
Yeah.
would have liked to see is we see barrel first, and then we see the Pokestop.
Oh,
and
and
then
then
we see-
and then we would see Shivery Chill.
Yes, and so we are choosing to do Shivery Chill first, which I also don't mind.
Yeah.
And so if Irida does get a superior energy retrieval, this Palkia is going down.
Yeah, definitely. And even if we just play the Pokestop first, it's not the biggest deal in the world because you could still draw into the superior energy retrieval.
And Sharper, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Rafal's getting punished for not going after the Baxcalibur here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, and I agree. I do think you want to see draw before
Oh.
Irida because you can just straight up hit those item cards off the Pokestop
Yep.
and then get something else in a minute.
It's like the thing we were saying all last weekend, never punish.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, so we see the superior. This Palkia is just cooked.
Yeah, it's
man.
cooked. And it's tough now because Rob doesn't have a way to reply back.
He does
Yeah.
not until Jonathan takes another prize. So the other thing I would have liked to see here is if Rafal had benched that Duskull,
Mm-hmm.
there could have been an opportunity to get a Duskull knockout on something on Rafal's bench, or excuse me, on Jonathan's bench, and then go into the Blood Moon Ursaluna to knock out this Chien Pao.
Yeah, but the Blood Moon Ursaluna's in the discard pile now because it got milled off a Pokestop.
It is.
Yeah.
But we do have outs to Night Stretcher.
Yes.
We have ways to find it, and we have ways to find it through the only mechanism Rafal has to draw right now, which is that Pokestop.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm wondering how Ralph will be able to go through his next turn, just because, I mean, he's kind of in a stalemate. There's nothing that can attack, really. So this might just be like a promote Radiant Greninja and pray.
I think that's legitimately going to be the turn. It's
Yeah.
going to be just throw something up there and hold. And yes, that is the tricky part. Is Rafal's going to be in a position where he's going to have to limit Jonathan's ability to close out the game
Yeah.
because Jonathan's, including this one, 2 attacks away or 2 more attacks away from just winning this game.
Yeah, and I think one benefit that is on Roth's side is that there isn't anything that could really threaten his Radiant Greninja, like an Iron Hands or anything like that. Because, I mean, his bench is full, and
Yes.
he won't be able to threaten like that at all.
Well, so we have a Pokestop, we have an Ultra Ball available, and yes, the Baxcalibur being a lone Bax is a big deal
Yeah.
here. Rafal's just going to need to make sure that Jonathan can't take a 3 prize turn, which, like you said, with no Iron Hands,
Yeah.
it's
It's
probably not likely.
yeah, it's a bit tough, but definitely possible. Let's see here. Being able to mill out. Yeah, Night
Okay.
Structure's fine.
And now, not getting that Duskull down is a big deal
Yeah.
because we had the out.
Yeah, the dust call. Yeah, it's exactly what we are saying. Is like being able if the dust call came into play, we could have at least taken another prize here.
Exactly. And you
Yeah.
could have used it to knock out something like the Grading Greninja to limit the draw for Jonathan, or just knock out the Babero limit draw, and we could have actually been in a really good spot. So maybe this is a good game where after the game, if Rafal does or doesn't pull it off, maybe we ask him the thought process on that Duskull going down or not.
Yeah, definitely. And it will be a good learning opportunity for him as well, just because it can help him kind of reflect on the game and kind of cause like a conversation to happen about like what are some of the lines that we saw as commentators and what he was thinking as a competitor.
And for all those who are watching at home, the reason we talk all about like should have done this, shouldn't have done this, it's all with the intent of how do we help ourselves grow and get better at the game? Because like watching game film is a big way to do it.
Yeah, and I've heard it from so many people that play here. They use our VODs from the stream in order to improve.
Yes,
And I think it's actually very flattering because I mean they take what we talk about into consideration when they make these moves.
for sure.
Yeah.
And only one person has told me to be nicer to them. So I think we're doing pretty good on batting average.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so getting back to the game, we do see Rafal using that Ultra Ball, getting Mew EX, trying to continue to draw. And what do you think he's digging for here?
I
Because
think he just needs more pieces. Like I mean you need ways to regain the board state because I mean his original board state was Greninja and 2 Palkias, but now being able to have more of a draw engine with both the restart and the flip the script is going to help a lot.
yes,
Because let's face it, this Greninja is probably not going to live much longer.
no, not at
Yeah.
all. And so we are going to restart for one.
And I think,
Palkia V-Star is pretty good,
and
but
yeah, and Rob hasn't used his supporter yet, so being able to use Iono is definitely very, very big here.
and so this is another one. That Iono is really big if Rafal had a way to knock out
Yes,
that barrel.
I know.
So this is tough. So I know we keep ragging on that Duskull not coming down, but the reason we are is because that decision could be like the difference between winning or losing just based on what Rafal's board is like. Because now
Exactly.
also he doesn't have a manual attachment for turn unless he uses both night stretchers.
Definitely. And that's where, oh,
Oh.
interesting.
Yes, Rafal did use his V-Star on his first turn. And so Rafal just kind of banking on this ninja staying alive.
Yeah.
What do you think about that
I don't
decision?
know. I feel like you need to have the Palkia ready as an attacker. That's just me though. The I don't know. It feels like it's so easy for Chen Pao to get this knockout here.
Well, so actually, I see where Rafal's coming from though. Is if this like if he attaches to Palkia and Palkia goes down, there is no real other out for him except for Blood Moon Ursaluna,
Yeah.
and he's not gonna have a lot of time. If Chien Pao decides to knock out this Greninja, then we can go straight into Blood Moon no problem, and we could even use a Duskull like
Yeah.
at some point.
Definitely. And I do like this play here. Jonathan's definitely taking advantage of the fact that Roth wasn't able to take a knockout this turn, so he's
Yeah.
going to try to get the snipe play going.
And he's going to be able to pull it off, and he's going to be able to draw 4 more with Babero.
Yeah, and all those
Probably would have
yeah.
liked seeing the one card to see if you're going to thin something out first, but that's okay.
Yeah, and the nice thing too is don't all of those energies go back to hand as well?
They do.
Yeah.
So Jonathan's going to be in an excellent position. And this is now 2 games in a row. We've seen Mew EX be much more of a liability than a benefit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we haven't seen it used as a I mean, look at that. It just knocked out so easily.
It
But
is.
yeah, I mean, it hasn't really drawn too much. It hasn't gotten anything super good like that, so definitely something to question.
And so, remind me, this deck plays 4 Iono, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, most of them play Iono. That's like the main draw supporter.
All right, so we see 2. Okay, so we see 2 Iono down. See Energy attached to
Ooh,
Greninja.
interesting. Okay.
We see. What do you think about that decision?
I don't mind it.
So why is that?
Just because want to see some more cards in the deck, and being able to draw into Prime Catcher is definitely very nice as well.
It is. All right, so we see the Duskull come down. Though, at this point, we can't use a Duskull. I think it's just thinning the hand.
Yeah.
And then we do have Froakie available. I think we're out of Night Stretch, or we have 1 Night Stretcher left, so maybe Greninja EX could be used.
And what do you think is attacking here? Do you think it's the Blood Moon Ursaluna, or do you think it's the Greninja?
I think it's a Greninja. So if I could see the perfect play here, it would be you gust up back Excalibur. Actually, gust up Chi and Pow, and then you Greninja knock out the barrel and the squirrel.
And the Squovet, yeah.
Or actually, at this point, I think you have to gust up Excalibur. So in an ideal world, what I would have liked to see is to have Rafal go in with an Iono rather than a research, but this is tough.
Yeah, and part of me is
And
thinking,
we do see
ooh,
the knockout on the back Excalibur, and I don't mind this either, because
Yeah.
this prevents Jonathan from being able to win with Chi and Pow this next turn.
Definitely. And there's no more Frigibacks, so Jonathan's gonna have to take the extra turn to put the Frigibacks back down
Yeah.
and try to get the rare candy play again.
And now there's an opportunity to use Radiant Greninja to take 2 prizes next turn, prevent yet another Frigibax from coming down, but we're going to be a manual attachment with Chi and Pow away from winning anyway.
Yeah, and I do like this play from Rafal because I feel like this is something that I as a player struggle with a lot. Is I definitely try to overreach and take the extra prize.
Yes.
I see like the 2 prizer and I'm like, oh, I need to say 2-2-2. But there's definitely some certain situations where you take the single prizer that's really important to the game's engine out of play.
Yes.
And all of a sudden it puts your opponent a lot farther behind than you would think.
And so that's a general rule for anyone who's trying to get better at the game. Always attack wherever your opponent is weakest.
Yeah.
If they have very limited draw, go after their limited draw. If
Yeah.
they have very limited like engine, whether it be acceleration, whatever it may be, go after that. If they only have 1 attacker, who cares if they have a draw engine? Take out the 1 attacker.
Yeah, definitely. So being able to prioritize the most important piece on the board is definitely something that I even am trying to get better at as a player. And being able to recognize, oh, maybe I should take out the barrel instead of the 2 prizer.
Yeah.
Or maybe I should avoid taking the Squawk out, even though maybe the Charmander would be more effective.
Yes.
Like being able to know like what is important to take out here is very important.
And we just see a pass over to Rafal.
Yeah.
So we see the Duskull come down. Can't use that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We see Rafal go into the Greninja. And this I love then.
Yes.
Because with that Kyogre in the active, there's no way for Jonathan to manually retreat it. So he will have an opportunity to wave summoning or something similar, but we're still just too far away.
Yeah, and I can see the line here. I think, Rafal could definitely go for a play like take out barrel, take out the Frigibax, and then, keep the 1 energy on there as a retreat to get into the Ursaluna to clean up the game.
Yes, and we do see the Pokestop here. And that Night Stretcher is,
But 2
but
Iono.
I guess the Iono don't really matter at this
Yeah,
point.
it definitely doesn't. Just because, I mean, like Rob's in a really good spot here now.
He is, and Blood Moon Ursaluna attacks for free.
Yeah, at this point, it does attack for free.
And so I gotta imagine we see the Frigi and the Barrel. Yes. So Rafal knocks out both of the support Pokemon there for Jonathan. And Jonathan, is there a way for him to win this?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anything here, really.
So the big thing is all he needs is a switch and an energy attachment.
Yeah, it would be one of those things where if he gets like Prime Catcher, then like
Well,
an
that
attachment-
would be
Prime
that'd be
Catcher
pretty
and
good.
attachment would be pretty good.
Oh, we see a back Excalibur, so he would have had to play
Yeah.
regardless of a supporter. But does he have anything in hand that he can use?
Yeah, I don't know. I think is that an Irida there?
So there is an Irida.
Yeah.
So the one thing that he can and he
Oh.
does decide to pass. Rafal goes into the Blood Moon
Yeah.
Ursaluna and takes a knockout with a very awkward handshake to follow.
Yes.
So I mean, what a win! What
Yeah.
a weird game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Roth started out very, very much behind,
Yes.
but he used 1 turn in order to refill his entire board. Even though he didn't take any prizes out, he was able to stabilize his board again, and that's really what changed the game.
And Jonathan made a really good play in taking out that Mew EX with
Yeah.
the Kyogre. So let's go and jump over to our second game. Do we have a second game? We do not
Oh,
have a second game. So, Brian, if you don't mind, can you go snag Rafal? And
yeah.
let's ask him a little bit about that game.
Yeah, definitely.
Bryce, did we have a Palkia list? We didn't, I don't think. Do you want to we can just leave it on here. So, one of the things we're trying to do as we keep going with the stream is try to mix up a little more discussion around decks that are doing well, kind of planning what the heck we're going to play for big events, and then also talk to the people that do well and have actually been testing with these lists. So, we're going to bring Rafal in just because I'm curious about a bunch of his plays. And if y'all have questions, would love to hear what questions you have. And yes, Arctic, for that game, I'm also a little surprised, and Sharper, you mentioned it too, why we didn't go for 2 Excalibur pieces, because that was his mechanism to win the game. And so we now have Rafal here in his wonderful, wonderful tank top. Rafal, how you doing, my guy?
Hello, I'm feeling pretty good. That was a crazy game.
That was a very crazy game. So we had a lot of questions and feedback, but first, I want to ask you just general thoughts. What the heck happened there, man?
Yeah, I mean he didn't bench a second Frigibax, which was kind of like my saving grace. I did see a Briar at some point,
Yes.
and I was like, honestly, I don't know what Terra stuff he plays, but like there was a point where I was like, maybe I could try to like go after like the damaged barrel or something, or no, like because I knew you saw me like manually attaching to the
Yes.
to the
Greninja.
Greninja, because I was like, I can either, if he takes 1 prize and he goes at 2, I still have the option to get like a Duskull out, or if he takes 2 prizes, I can Ursaluna for free. So I was like, I can like set myself up for victory that way. And I knew I had Countercatcher, Switch, and Prime Catcher in the deck, which
Yes.
typically I have to squawk away turn 1 like half my games. So
Fair.
it was nice to have those options. Turns out they're pretty good in the deck. But it was, yeah, I knew he had the 1 Excalibur. I was like, I saw the Briar, so I was like, maybe he plays Area 0 or something. So like I knew that I couldn't knock out anything but the Excalibur, because then he could bench it for Frigibax or like Area 0 or like have rooms to get out of Frigibax. So I was like, I need to like knock out the Excalibur, then go for other stuff.
Yes.
So that, like, as you saw, that's what I did. But I think that the big thing is that, because I was thinking, like, you know, what if he had benched 2 Frigibax? Honestly, in hindsight, I don't know if it would have mattered unless he got 2 Excalibur, because as you saw, like, I had that awkward play where, like, I took 2 prizes onto the Chempao, because I did 130 with the Dusknoir.
Yes.
But I didn't know where to put the other 90, because there was, like, no really good place. I was like, I could put it on the barrel, and I like late game maybe I could do like Froakie try bouncing for 30 onto it.
Well,
if
so
we're really desperate.
I'm actually going to jump in there. And also, Pokédo, yes, Terrapagos is very good. I don't know if it's as good as everyone says, but it's very good. But Rafal, Brian and I were talking through this, and the turn when you use that Greninja play, you declined to use your Night Stretcher to put a Duskull on the bench. Why?
Dude, I don't remember.
All right, fair enough. So
I'm sorry. I knew. I think I really wanted to save my stretchers. I mean.
So the reason, the line we were thinking of is
Yeah.
we assumed that you had hit into the barrel because you knew that a Dusclops could close out that prize, remove his draw engine, and you could couple that with an Iono later in the game.
Yeah.
Rather than having to rely on a Dusknoir to knock out the Excalibur if
Yeah.
you had put the Greninja damage there.
Yeah, I think my thought process was that I didn't want to give him any opportunities to get down to even prizes.
Yes.
There was a point where I was like, I think I wanted to bench a second Duskull. I think I ended up Ultra Balling the Duskull to get Palkia, and then I wanted to save the Night Stretcher for something else for the next turn because my hand was so bad.
Yes.
I think that was the idea. I was like, I was thinking about benching the Duskull, but I didn't want to give him an opportunity to to ninja it and then get himself down back to even prizes, because then if I knocked out the ninja, then I'm on prizes, right?
And that makes
I think that
complete
was
sense.
the thought process.
So I think the question I have then is, as you're talking through this, you're clearly thinking through your line, what the prize mapping is. So how do you know how to prioritize when you use or put down or kind of give up prizes with that Dusknoir line?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like knowing the way your opponent is going to take prizes.
Okay.
So sometimes like you can be very liberal with it and just like pop a bunch of them because it wins you the game. Like I was telling you like a day or two ago, like with the team, like sometimes if you're like really desperate, say that you're against like Gardevoir and they have like 3 Ralts down, and you like can't get your Dusknoir, you could go like Dusclops 50 on 1, Night Stretcher, Dusclops again. It's like that sucks for giving 2 prizes, but then if you like Moonlight Shuriken, they just like lose the game.
Right.
Essentially. So like that's an instance where like you can kind of be a little more aggressive with them, but usually you don't want to do more than 1 unless it's winning you the game.
That makes sense.
Because the way that you have to, part of it is like knowing how your opponent's deck work. Chen Pao typically wins by going 2-2-2. That's why I was very actively only benching 1 in that first turn. You saw me like pop it. I was like
Yes.
thinking about doing 2, but it's like if I give 2, like because I had Ninja active, so I was like either he needs to go out of his way to get Iron Hands, or he needs to like have a Prime Catcher to get my Palkias, but if I just bench 2 Dust Call, he just goes like knock out 2 Dust Call, right? So like
And that was our question of, do you go with 1 Duskull or 3 Duskull? And I see that you
Yeah.
decided to go with 1. So if he took that line, it was a bunch of resources and a turn to still have a long game ahead of him.
Exactly, especially like this is a matchup where like Dusknoir doesn't always do the most, right? Because like as you saw, like it doesn't knock out Excalibur. So like once he gets
Right.
Excalibur out, like if he had gotten, I mean, I guess in hindsight he only had 1 Frigibax, so maybe 3 would have been fine. But he only had, if he had gotten 2 Excalibur out, then like it's kind of a useless card because like you do 130 to 1. Okay, you knock out the Ninja, but like what do you do about the other one, right?
And so that's why the math we were thinking of is the 130 is so perfect to clear barrel and the draw engine from
yes,
the board
for sure.
if you can couple it with Iono or something
Yeah,
like
which
that.
you saw me at the end of the game. I was like, because I was like, if he just has like a Prime Catcher and an energy on that Chen Pao, like he can just like knock out a 1 prizer.
Right.
Right. So that was what my fear was, and you saw me pokey stuff because I knew I had a Night Stretcher. I was like, I could get Night Stretcher, get an energy, draw into my Iono. I discarded 2 Ionos. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that sucks. But obviously he wasn't able to get it in the end. But yeah, it was interesting, and we were talking like, what if he had benched 2 Frigibacks? But I think the issue is that you needed to evolve both.
Yes.
Because if he had only evolved 1, then I actually get an even bigger advantage. Because you saw, like, I was like, I don't know where to put that 90. Well, if I'm putting 90 on Chen Pao for a knockout, and he has a second Frigibax, like I'm knocking out that Frigibax. Like it honestly ends up being even better for me if that happens. So like,
And so I'm glad you demonstrated that too of going after the Chi and Pao, because to be honest, my instinct would always be to target down the engine and like the acceleration Pokemon rather than going for the early 2 prizes there. But to me, that's probably from a time of Tina where the way I beat Chi and Pao is by disassembling their board to then close out the game. So
yeah.
it's definitely good to think about that of being a little more aggressive in taking those prizes, knowing the game's probably shorter with the use of those Dust Noirs.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, maybe I was mistaken in doing that because, like, you saw he was able to knock out that Palkia. In hindsight, I was like, I think I underestimated the odds that he knocks out Palkia and takes 2 prizes because I thought he was probably going to knock out the Ninja, and then Palkia can just trade with Chen Pao's and you just win the game.
Are we setting up? Brian, you're a legend. Brian is setting us up. So
Oh, I have an opponent.
you do have an opponent. We'll get
Oh,
you over there.
cool.
We're not going to get you a late penalty, but just one last question, Rafal.
Yeah.
Going into Louisville, obviously you've been practicing with this deck a lot. You're really familiar with it. How good of a play do you think this is into the field?
I think it's solid. I think a lot of decks right now are just based on do you win the coin flip, and I think you know, like do you if you want to go first, do you go first? If you want to go second, do you get to go second? Especially good, like if you want to go first, do you get to go first? And like that's a thing where like now I used to be really scared of it, but now it's like every deck's kind of like that. Like any deck I play is gonna want to just go first. So like what's the whatever?
Yeah.
Like I just gotta win those coin flips, and like it is what it is. So like I do think it's good just for the fact that like some of the other decks that you're competing against, kind of in the same realm, is like Charizard, things like Chen Pao potentially, like they might be a little bit less popular now, but like Charizard, Dragapult, Gardevoir, Terapagos, like those are all decks where like they can go, like I think that Palkia's ability to going first, just annihilate your opponent, is higher than the odds that any of those decks have to go first and annihilate your opponent. So,
Fair.
because like I mean, you saw me go second. Imagine if I went first, I just knock out 2 Frigibacks and it's like over,
Yeah.
right? So, you see the strength of the deck, and I was able to like stage a comeback. But if I had gone first, like it's like I don't even give it a try, right? I just ninja and boom, like that's
No,
the game.
and there's something to that of when in doubt, have the deck that has the highest power early and can run your opponent off the board.
Yeah.
It's probably an argument for Bolt with that, but I don't like it, so I'm going to ignore it.
I don't like
So-
both either, but
All right, fair
Yeah.
enough. So, Rafal, thank you for chatting with us. We'll let you get to your
Thank you.
game
Yeah,
as
yeah.
we're getting this set up, and good luck.
thank you very much.
All right, so Brian is coming back to join us here after getting this next game set up. So
I'm back.
I do think that Palkia Dustmore deck is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second regional in a row that it's gotten the top cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're calling asymmetrical top cut, right?
That still
yeah.
counts. And Stefan got top 4. That is certainly considered top cut.
Yeah. So, interesting matchup here we have now with Zard and Miraidon. So, originally...
Interesting. This is a throwback matchup a bit.
Yeah, it's a throwback matchup with new pieces.
Yes.
It was originally seen as like, oh, Charizard has always got a favorable matchup into Miraidon. But now that Miraidon's able to take advantage of the Area 0, the Raikou is able to be a very effective attacker here and take some of those big knockouts.
Well, so that's actually the thing. It is now a Raikou deck.
Yeah,
It is
pretty
not so
much.
much a Miraidon
Yeah,
deck.
it's like a lightning box.
Right. And I'm sorry, is that a Chorus Tenacity in the hand for Alec there?
I don't know. I don't.
I believe it is, and
Yeah.
there's no world that's good.
Yeah, I think
All
it's
right,
the
then I'm gonna have someone else
yeah.
tell me to be nice to them,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
It's gonna. I think it's definitely a searcher for the Area 0.
Yes,
Um,
and it can get you a lightning energy too, which
yeah,
is good.
or the double
but-
turbo.
or double turbo. Yes,
So I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world, but definitely not optimal.
I don't think it's optimal.
Yeah.
And also, that hand is not ideal for Alec here.
Yeah, definitely. Rhydon really likes seeing Squawkabilly on turn 1, so
And right now we don't have an out to that.
yeah.
So the one thing we do have going for Alec though is, and I know Troy is a legend. We have a prime catcher in hand, and so I think we will be able to use that to pull up that Charmander and maybe figure out a way to get a knockout there.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that Alec was the one who went first here, so I don't think there's a
No,
knockout.
Troy
Oh,
drew and
he drew
passed,
past?
unfortunately.
Oh, it's so unfortunate.
Yes, Troy did go first. So we do see, yeah, the prime catcher. We have an energy in hand, a bravery charm, a switch
Yeah.
cart, and I don't mind the switch cart into Raikou to fleet footed and try to draw a card.
Yeah, definitely. I do like that a lot, just because that Fleetfoot is able to sometimes grab you like a really important card, like your supporter, electric generator. I like how it can dig deeper before you use electric generator as well. So a lot of things that it can do.
Tale as old as time. Do
Yeah.
you draw with Raikou before generator?
I say yes, but I've definitely been punished for doing so.
I say the rule is listen to your heart.
Yes,
and
listen to your heart.
Alex Hart just told him that he's going to be able to bench a Squawkabilly EX this turn, and that
Yes.
is a huge deal.
Yes, and I like how Mo's mentioning that if he got the turn 1 path, it would be an auto win.
That is very true. That's possible.
Yes.
And Sharper, it does matter only if there is a possibility to draw a card that can thin additional cards out of your deck, because then it does marginally increase the percentage of hitting a lightning.
Yes, and then you also have the instances where you hit the lightning and then you whiff the generator, which has happened to me before.
That is, yes, absolutely. Any thoughts on this choice?
I would have liked to see a different supporter played.
I would have liked to see lots of different things here.
Yes.
But do you have any particular thoughts on the different
I
things?
think the rationale behind this is that he's going to get out the Area 0 and then use Squawk in order to find like a generator or something like that.
And I concur with that rationale. I don't know if this is I just actually don't know about this decision. Like, why do
Yeah.
you think this is the order or the line of play he's taking?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely think just really wanting to hit the turn 1 amp.
I do like that. It is a prime catcher we're seeing, right?
That's a Pokemon catcher.
Oh, I'm the other card in
Oh,
his hand.
the
I
other
believe
card?
it's a proxy.
Oh, it might be.
All right, so we will see.
Oh,
That
yeah,
is a
that
prime
that is a
catcher.
prime catcher.
Yep, we are going to prime catcher up the Charmander.
Yes, I do like that.
And going to the second Raikou, I also love because now we get to fleet-footed.
Yes.
All right, and we will see the Squawk. Do we hit the generator for 2?
I do like seeing the Squawk before the Raikou, just because it's nice that what if you fleet foot into something that you really want.
Yes.
So being able to get that first is definitely ideal.
And I also would have loved to see the Ultra Ball for a Mew or something similar to
Yes.
try to draw, but here we are. It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. All right. So unfortunately, we do not hit the play unless there's something you're seeing, Brian, that I'm missing.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything really. Ooh,
That's a lot of
Interesting.
supporters.
yeah. But
What-
I think the one thing that Al can be relieved for is I don't think there's really a world where Troy's able to get the first knockout here.
There is. It would depend on if Troy plays Max Belt or.
Oh yeah, true.
Yes. And he did not have a supporter in hand
Yeah.
outside of the Chorus. So this is
Yeah.
this is a lot of things. All right, so we
Yes.
see the Pheasantipity. We have an Iono in hand for Troy. Do we have an Arvin and a Charizard EX coming down?
Ooh, interesting that the
We
Th-
do
yeah.
not.
I don't think we have one.
But go ahead. What were you saying?
I'm just interested in the reason to putting the energy onto the Pidgey here, unless maybe he's thinking of a play where he could call for family.
That would be
Yeah,
my guess, but I'm not really sure either. All right, we'll
yeah,
see what Troy gets off this. Honestly, if we get Rare Candy Charizard, we are
yeah,
just
yeah.
fine. Well,
Oh, almost
we,
there.
we did get a Rare Candy and a Charizard,
Yeah.
just not the ones we were looking for.
Yes. But I think this is fine. I mean, if Troy's able to get like a Dusknoir or like a Duskull set up here, it could definitely lead into a more effective play in the next turn.
And I do think we're probably going to see him put down a Pidgey, though I'd like to see another Charmander come down here.
Yeah, the other
just to-
Charmander is here. There's one that he just put down.
Perfect. Yes,
Yeah.
and that's what I would like to see, because I think if Alec goes after the Pidgey, that's okay, because now your Charizard EX is knocking out everything.
Yes, everything.
So the only question is, do we see a Rotom? And I don't think we have an out to one in hand.
Yeah, I don't think we have one. And plus, the bench is full now, so it wouldn't be able to be put down unless the Iron Bundle's played.
Right, and I wouldn't mind seeing the bundle played if it gave you an out to
Yeah.
that. Oh, we do have a Dusclops in hand.
Ooh.
Okay.
pass.
Oh, we see a generator for
generator.
Alec.
Ooh, so do you think he's going to Fleet Foot before?
Probably, just because we just
Yeah.
talked about it.
Okay.
Wait,
and
Troy doesn't play Dusknoir. What did I see?
I don't know. Maybe it might be just Duskull and Dusclops.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But we do see Alec get that Zapdos down, so just thinning the deck, preparing for that generator. And I like that because there were 3 lightning energy in the bottom of his deck.
Yeah, so being able to reset it is definitely really nice here. And all Alec really needs is just to hit 1 energy off of this, and he'll be able
Yes.
to attack with Amp.
Well, 1 energy, and does he have a switching card in hand?
I do not know. And the whiff.
Well, we did see an energy. He does have a switch card in hand, so but we did not see
There was
a
nothing-
lightning.
Yeah, there was no. Yeah, there was an energy there.
There was.
It wasn't a
You
lightning.
cannot accelerate a double turbo
Yeah,
as much as
unfortunately.
Alec would like.
Yep.
All right, so then we're gonna see the fleet-footed here,
Yeah.
and let's see what we get. Is it a generator?
It's
Of
another
course,
lightning.
it's a
Of
lightning.
course it
It is,
is.
of course, a lightning.
That's how it always is.
Listen, you always hit what you don't want.
Yeah.
So on the bright side, Troy still hasn't done a lot.
Yeah.
So Alec has some time. Was there another Pokemon you think he could have nestballed out to thin further?
Maybe Radiant Greninja.
That could
Yeah.
be if he plays a Radiant Greninja.
Yep. Ooh, and Alex choosing to go for another Fleet Foot here, which is interesting.
So now I'm curious what we Ultra Ball for,
Yeah.
since we seemed pretty hyped about the Ultra Ball, even
Yeah.
after we had the Nest Ball in hand.
Interesting to see. I'm thinking, ooh, he's eyeing the fish.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and I do like this because fish will be able to get you Arvin, and
Yes.
Force Seal Stone is still in the deck, which is really nice. And I was definitely thinking of the Motivate play. I'm not gonna lie, but the Motivate doesn't seem like it's very good because if Charizard gets put into play, then even if no prizes have been taken, then
That is true.
yeah. But it's interesting to see how much Alex gone through his deck already. It's gotten very thin here.
It has. So Sharpie, he plays Prime Catcher, and
Yes,
he used it
he
on
used
the
it-
first turn.
Yeah, he used it on turn 1, so there's no more Prime Catcher here.
All right, so just a couple sequencing things for Alec to yell at me for later. Rather than using Rhydon to get the Zapdos out, I would have liked to see him use the Nest Ball to get, there we go,
Double.
to get Radiant Greninja, so that way he could start to draw.
Yes.
And then alongside that, I think it would have been good just to use that Raikou first, since there were so many ways to draw cards or thin out the deck, to find something to thin first before seeing the energy.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what the other attacker that Alex is going to set up would be. Probably the Raikou, just because it's so much easier to
It's
get.
certainly not Mewtwo. So
Yeah,
I assume
certainly.
it's Raikou, because that is going to be what's going to let him draw the most, hit for the most damage.
Yeah, and with how big these benches are getting, the Raikou is going to be able to hit for very meaningful damage too.
Yes. And we do see the attachment. And then we'll see if Alec gives him the hands.
Yeah.
And deciding.
So, there
and
we
we'll
go.
see the hands.
The hands.
Thank you very much for 2 prizes
2
on that
prizes.
Charmander.
Yeah, getting one of those generators off of the prizes is very important to see here.
That's a
And-
big grab.
Yeah, definitely a big grab here. And I'm wondering how Troy's going to approach this next turn. It doesn't feel good that you have the rare candy, but you don't have the Pidgeot or the Charizard here.
And that's, I think, why I'd want to see
Yeah.
the Pheasantipity first before
Be-
we see the Iono.
Absolutely agree with you. I'm wondering to see what he's going to do here first. He's eyeing the Iono, but I really want to see that Fez.
So
Yeah.
for me, the biggest deal is, if he
Yeah.
draws into an Arven off of the Fez, he has the Charizard.
Yeah.
But going this route, he doesn't yet, and that's really
Yeah,
tough.
it is definitely tough, but 6 fresh cards here. Oh,
Oh, well,
no,
yeah,
no,
all right, that's
don't
okay.
listen to
No,
us.
it's-
No, we have no idea what we're talking
No,
about.
ignore everything
Yeah.
we say. Sometimes you just what was
Yeah.
what was the phrase we keep using?
Never
punished.
never
Just
punished.
Never punished.
Never.
It's always
never.
the right choice.
Yep.
All right, and we do see, I think, really good sequencing here in the
Yes.
Pheasantipity next, and we see another rare candy to
Yep.
go with the Ultra Ball. Yeah, guys, just whatever we tell you, do
Yeah,
the
do
opposite.
the opposite.
Man, so the one thing we don't have is that a Zerosix mechanics in there? We have some spice in this list.
Yeah. Interesting. I wonder what matchup that really helps with.
I don't know, but
Yeah,
it's cool.
It is cool.
All right, so we are going to see the rare candy Charizard EX use the Infernal Rain ability. We see a switch A. We see those come down. The energy come out of the deck. Ooh, that's okay. You have energy in hand, Troy, so you're good.
Yep. And it's interesting though because Zard is currently swinging for 240 damage,
It is.
but there's a Bravery Charm attached to the Iron Hands.
There is.
Yeah, so Troy's gonna need to find a way to get rid of that.
And I'm curious if he plays a Lost Vacuum.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, or maybe something like the Jamming Tower, or I don't even know what else he could put on there.
Kat, you are absolutely correct. I do not trust in the heart
Yes.
of the cards. I am very much a cynic in the heart of the cards.
Yes.
So the one thing that Troy could do is use that bundle, but Alex probably going to send it that Zapdos.
Yeah, he's gonna send up the Zapdos, which is going to really hurt the prize trade a lot. But another way is even if Troy's not able to get this initial knockout, there could be a way to take multiple prizes in one turn if able to remove the Bravery Charm and then take another 2-prizer.
Yes. So the other thing I had actually just thought about is, does Troy play Briar? Because if he does,
very true.
knocking out that Zapdos is not a big deal because you can still take a 3-prize turn.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Listen, Roxanne is only a lie half the time.
Yeah.
The other half of the time, it's the best card in the format. And Alec is 2 lightning off of 3 generators so far this game.
Yeah, definitely not too hot right now.
No.
But that's really what the price you have to pay when you play a card like that.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Our poor friend Ben Doberstein, love this guy, started 5-0 at the World Championships
Yeah.
playing Miraidon, and then proceeded to go 0-3 for the rest of the
Yeah.
day. And it's sometimes they give, sometimes they take.
Tell me that's words to live by.
Yes. All right, so this Raikou, if Alec does decide to go into attack with it, which he shouldn't, will do, I believe, a whopping 260 damage, which is a good amount of damage, but I think Alec is going to just hit with this Iron Hands for, I want to say it's...
Like 100.
Well, no, because we
Oh,
can arm press.
Arm press for like 140.
I think it'd be 150.
Oh, 150. Yeah, with the Zapdos.
Yes, 160 minus 20 plus 10.
Plus 10. Yep.
All right, and so that will not knock out the Charizard. It also, unfortunately for Alec, will not set up for a Ampy very much 2-shot. And thank you for using the big dice, guys. Much appreciated. Did we just... Oh, no, 150. There you go. All right. Well, that's 110.
That's 110.
Did he just amp?
I think he might have amped.
I have questions, Brian.
Yes, I have questions too.
All right, fair
I don't
enough.
think I have answers for you.
I have none whatsoever. But
Yes.
anyway, Troy is now using Pidgeot to get likely a boss's orders, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely want to take a look at the deck too to see if there's anything like a vacuum being played or anything like that.
Because I think that's the big swing turn for Troy, is if he can get off a vacuum. Oh, and there is a lost vacuum there. So we'll see the vacuum. And the best part of this play to me is that Alec can push up that Zapdos, and then Troy can play the Iron Bundle
Yeah.
to force up a 2-prizer.
So the thing that I was thinking first was if he should just play the counter catcher first. I think he has counter catcher in hand. It looked like a counter catcher.
It should be 150 damage, Bass. Do you want to let him know? Let Troy know there should be 150. Or thank you, Bryce.
Unless it
Or
was.
actually, no,
It
you're right.
was an amp. It was an amp.
It was an amp. So
Yeah.
Alec used Ampy very much for reasons
Yeah.
that we cannot fathom.
Yes.
But it does do 110. And we
Yeah.
will see the bundle play. Alec has to push up a 2-prize Pokemon. And, man, Troy's looking like he's in a great position here.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like what we were talking about. Like, it's not the biggest deal that he wasn't able to take that initial 2-prize knockout because he took 4 at the same time instead.
Yes. So now the only kind of regret I have here is Troy discarded an Arven or lost on an Arven with that
Yeah.
Lost Vacuum while still having an Iono in hand. And I would
Yeah.
have loved him to use that Arven to get a Charmeleon or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Just because in case there is some sort of late game disruption, being able to have a way to set up your next attacker is very important.
Well, granted, again, what is the thing we always say?
Yeah, never punished.
Never punished. We saw Fire Energy off the prizes. We have a rare candy in hand.
Yeah, Pidgeot will just grab the last piece unless it gets gusted, which I highly doubt.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I do not know. Alec, listen, guys. Alec plays Color's Tenacity. If you're asking if I know what else is in the list, I don't.
Yeah, couldn't tell you.
No, but there is a Pheasantipity in hand, so Alec will be able to draw more cards should he desire. There's also a Blood Moon Ursaluna, but I don't think it really helps here.
Yeah, just because at this point, when the Zard gets knocked out, it'll be able to knock out anything on the board anyways, so it's not like the extra like health manipulation would really matter.
Yes, and so Alec is going to need to try to find a way to take this knockout with a single prizer, but Zapdos isn't going to do enough damage.
Yeah, and it's got a 3 energy cost. It's gonna be a really tough to be able to set that up.
It is. And right now, Troy is doing 240 damage with Charizard. So, Sharpie did feed the bill. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cat would love to have you here. To be honest, I wish I was playing Pokemon right now
Yeah.
looking at some of this because, man, it's fun to talk about it, but I also just love playing the
Yeah,
game.
I mean, we love playing it too. That's why we always get here so early, just so we can.
Yes. We can cram in a
we
couple
can-
hours to
yeah,
play.
we can still play.
Yes. All right, so we see the Pheasantipity, draw 3. See Hands, Nest Ball, Ultra Ball.
It's not really what we really need here.
No.
And it feels like Alec has like everything in the hand that he doesn't need at the moment. Like we really want
Right.
Gust, we want Disruption, we want stuff like that. But instead we have like energies and Ball Search. So it's not really what we need right now.
So the biggest issue for Alec just is there's no way to take a knockout here with something that survives a hit.
Yeah. Because like whatever gets knocked out here is just going to get cleaned up anyways. Because I mean, as we've seen earlier, Troy pretty much has everything in his hand needed in order to win the game.
He does, and Alec
Yeah.
does not have an Iono. Cat, I usually get here before 5 at the latest, and I know some
Yeah.
guys show up like 4:35,
Yeah,
5:30.
It kind of depends on when we get out of work.
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
you're here, happy to play.
Yeah, definitely. We always like to have some games come in before we start.
Yes, and I think
Yeah.
Alec has the knockout here. Did we say
He might have said arm press, but then we didn't end up putting it there.
that is very reasonable? I mean,
Yes.
even if it was Ampy very much, we still have the knockout
Yeah, there's
here.
still a knockout there anyways.
That's 140, but
That's
that's fine.
140,
We ignored
whatever.
Zapdos.
Yeah.
We're still taking the knockout,
Yeah,
guys.
there's a knockout happening either way.
All right, so what is Troy's response? Is it literally just find a Charizard out of the deck?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I mean, Pidgeot's able to get there, so as long
Yes.
as there's enough energy in the deck, we should be fine.
agreed, because we have the Charmander, we have the rare candy. Well, also, we have energy in hand. Oh, we
Yeah,
have
Forest
Steel
Steel Stone. Yeah,
All right, yeah,
add
well.
insult to injury.
All right, so all we got to see.
Whoa! What's going on here?
What is happening?
What's going on here?
Uh-oh.
I have questions, Dan.
I... Oh, wait. I have it.
Oh, is this going to be a Dusclops?
This is going to be a Dusknoir on the Raikou knockout with Pidgeot EX. Is this the correct play?
I don't think so.
Impossibly no. Is it the cool play?
Yeah, it definitely
100%
is.
yes. All right, so that is actually a Dusclops, which is not enough damage
Yeah.
to knock out the Raikou.
But has Quick Search been used yet?
It has to get the Dusclops. But what it is enough damage is to knock out the Luminion.
Oh.
Should Troy use the counter catcher in
Okay,
hand?
so Dusclops.
after using the
okay,
Dusclops.
Yeah, so, okay, I see it now.
There is a vision.
There
we
is a
see the vision.
vision,
Now, does
yes.
Troy see the vision?
I hope so.
I hope so as well.
Yeah, because the game ends if he doesn't see the vision.
Yes. We're going to Pheasantipity. I don't know if Troy sees the vision.
Yeah.
We're gonna see. We have
So it's
Switch,
Switch.
Ultra Ball, or is that a boss?
I think that's Rotom. Oh no, it's Buddy Poppin.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, that is
Yeah. We definitely have seen a couple different lines. I mean, Mo just said like, just save the energy, search out Radzard.
also an option.
Yeah, I mean, there was always the rare candy Charizard, knock out the active play.
There's a
Yeah,
Palpat's
Scenic
forces to
route.
Ultra Ball. Yeah, there are definitely ways here that Troy can still take this game down. And to be
Yeah.
honest, if Troy even just goes into a one prizer, Alec does not have a way to win the game right now.
Yes, definitely. Okay, there's the
So
Ultra
see
Ball.
the Ultra Ball. So we still have the out to win with Charizard, assuming there is an energy in deck or a way to get an energy in
Yeah.
deck. And
Interesting. So we see the Zard here now.
so I'm trying to think what the other line is Troy's looking at
Does
here.
he still have that rare candy in hand?
He does.
Okay, so this could be that rare candy Zard play.
He does not have another energy in deck, though. And
There
there is
isn't
one
one?
energy on the Charmander, but we still need to see an energy put into the deck.
Yeah. I don't see anything like Super Rod.
We see
Oh,
the rare candy.
uh,
Interesting. Do we see the ability used?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it. Oh, this is tough. I mean, we still have game if we use Dusclops and countercatcher up
Yeah.
Luminion.
Okay.
And so where are we putting it?
Yeah, this is going to be the big game changer. I think
On
he's pointing at
Luminion.
Luminion, right?
Are you putting in Luminion? Do we see the
Oh.
countercatcher line?
Oh,
We
there's
see the
countercatcher.
countercatcher
There we
line.
go.
We see the knockout on Luminion to take the game for
Yeah.
Troy. Troy going to 3-0 with this knockout from Pidgeot, taking the game. And we, I think the scenic route's a good way
Yeah,
to
we took the
describe
scenic
that.
route. It was definitely an interesting line. I don't think any of us really thought of that as a potential line, but
No,
I mean, if it gets you the win, it gets you the win, you know?
to be honest, as like the commentator, I'll actually take it as an upside. We don't always get the chance to talk through the different options available.
Yeah,
Troy actually showed us a bunch of different ones.
yeah,
And to be fair, Sharper, I don't think it was intentional.
yeah.
I don't. Whenever someone does that to show off, I agree, not very sportsmanlike.
Yeah.
I think Troy was just legitimately looking through the line.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that was a very exciting game for as weird as it was.
yeah, definitely.
And do we have a second game, Bryce?
Oh, cool.
We do. And we have Ethan with our favorite Ursaluna Valiant deck from a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And still cruising with it.
Yeah, definitely. And then Trevor's still making Palkia work, but it's a different Palkia than what we were showcasing earlier with the Dusknoir line, as he
Yes.
just goes straight Palkia with Noctowl. And this is more reminiscent of the Palkia that you probably ended up playing to Worlds back in London.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. So Palkia that I played Palkia Ice Rider VMAX, which Ice Rider for 2 energy and a choice spell got to one-shot an Arceus V-Star. Pretty good.
Yeah,
With
pretty good.
2 water energy, a choice spell, and a Leon one-shot a Mew VMAX. Pretty good.
Yep.
So it was a cool deck because you got to use Inteleon to search out any trainer you wanted from the deck, very much like this Noctowl here.
Yeah, definitely. And was quick shooting out around that time?
It was. I did not play a quick shooting Inteleon in my deck. Instead, I played, I believe, 1 or 2 of just the double search Inteleon.
Oh, the double shady dealings?
Yes, the
Yeah.
double shady dealings.
Okay.
Because you didn't really need that damage fixing between Radiant Greninja, Palkia, Choice Belts, and everything else.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, so Trevor takes a knockout, goes down to 2 prizes remaining, and now Ethan has to try to take his last prize here.
Yeah, interesting because there's only one Valiant in play
Oh.
right now.
But we've got a Techno Radar, and we've
Yeah.
got 3 Switch. So, I mean, if they're Valiant available, we could probably pull this off.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I think
Yeah.
for this Palkia, Ursaluna, I thought it did base 150, does base 100. We would need, I believe, 2 Valiant would put it at 220 plus 40. We will need all 3 Valiant pings on this V-Star to win the game.
Yes. And oh, there's
Well,
3 Valiants.
Well, we
Yeah, so what I want to see from Ethan is I think the best usage of the pings, because I think in the last game that we had him on the stream, there were times where you could just get the easy retreat into ping, but instead use like switch or switch cart into them. So definitely seeing retreat into one for ping and then switch into the next ping, switch. You know, just wanna,
Yes.
yeah,
And I think he wants to end with the Valiant that has free retreat. So
yes,
switch into one, switch into the other, switch into the one with free retreat.
yep,
And
retreat,
and
yeah,
then he is going to need to restart into and out to an energy.
yep,
Which it looks like there's a Night Stretcher. Earthen Vessel isn't super helpful. Ooh, there are very few outs to energy. But there is also an out to a Pheasantipity. So if he doesn't see it and he holds that Ultra Ball in hand, he can go into that Pheasantipity and draw.
yeah. But the problem with that one is it's pretty much gonna be like ping, ping, Ursaluna probably, just because the bench would be pretty much full by then.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
So the bench is full, correct.
Yeah.
And no, so we want to see switch because you want to be able to use the free retreat of the last Iron Valiant, I believe.
Yeah, I think we don't want to use. I think you're thinking. I was thinking you were talking about Blood Moon, EX.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. The baby
Just
Blood
the
Moon
baby,
Ursaluna
yeah.
there. All right, so we're gonna see switch into the last one. Oh, and we're just gonna see all 6. Sure,
Yeah.
that's fine. And we're just gonna dig for the energy. Mew for 2.
Oh,
We see
Lana's
and we see
A.
Lana's
What?
A to get the energy
What?
and knock out the Palkia
Whoa.
V-Star. Ethan also going to 3-0. We are going to see Charizard EX versus Baby Blood Moon Ursaluna. And
Wow.
it's the matchup everyone wanted, Brian.
Yeah, it was definitely not the matchup I thought would win.
Yes.
Or be our determining factor of who wins tonight, but
Right.
it's definitely interesting to see.
And just what a draw to find that Lana's. And Ethan, man, I got to ask him about this list. This is really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want me to go grab him?
Yeah, absolutely. Go. Or actually, I'll grab him. You do the interview this
Yeah,
time.
cool.
So if you want to talk to the people about why we think this list is so cool.
Yeah, so this is interesting because one deck that was very prevalent, not really very prevalent, but had a very niche following was Entei Iron Valiant, which was very popular with Tyler Matthews, member of our local community. And this feels like another version of that just because it takes advantage of the Iron Valiant pings and then uses like a very reliable attacker in order to take the easy prizings. And then we have Ethan here who will be coming in for a quick interview. Yeah. And we have him here. All right, Ethan, what's going on?
Nothing much, man.
Yeah. So super cool deck. We just have like a few questions for you. Like, what made you gravitate towards this deck? And you've been playing it for a bit at like locals here.
Yeah.
So what's been like the main drawing factor to that?
Well, initially when I played like other card games like Legend of Runeterra, Magic
Yeah.
the Gathering and stuff, I always gravitated toward like storm type lists.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to play something that was sort of turbo-y.
Yeah.
And I think what's unique about the Ursaluna deck is it's very much like you put together a combination of items
Yeah.
and that translates to knockout. So you got to find the energy, you got to find the amount of switch effects. So it just kind of clicked for me. It was very intuitive. And I also love to play like rogue strategies.
Yeah, definitely.
And the bears are really funny.
Yeah,
so.
definitely. And we were talking about this earlier as like, did you ever play the other iteration of this deck, the Entei version?
Yeah, I played it
Yeah.
a lot on live,
Yeah.
but I didn't get into the game soon enough to play
Yeah.
the other version where you still had like ropes and stuff.
Yeah. So, where did you find this list? Was this something that you kind of homebrewed? Did you find this online? Like, where did you mainly get the list?
I had been stalking Pokébook,
Yeah.
seeing what people were doing with Valiant. I knew I wanted to play something
Yeah.
with the Ursaluna.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I was on like some very bad Frostlass list.
Yeah.
It just didn't work at all. So I picked up the Valiant list, and
Yeah.
I've, done cuts and stuff and sort of made it my own.
Yeah, definitely. And have you been keeping up with like Japan's like upcoming meta and like the new cards that are coming out over there?
Not a lot. no.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm like wondering now, like moving forward, like how this deck you think would change. Is there anything that you've been thinking that you'd want to change at all in it?
Not particularly, no. I
Yeah.
think the only thing that ends up slotting in is just like whenever they print another advantage engine, it probably
Yeah.
just goes in.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for coming on here to talk about the deck. We'll definitely probably see you in the next round here, because you're still at 3-0, so we'll probably put you back on the stream again.
I'm 2-1, I think.
You're 201?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll look at it again. But either way, good luck with the rest of it, and thanks for coming on here.
Appreciate it, yeah.
All right, so we'll probably just cut to a quick 2-minute break while we get the last round all set up. So we will see you all in just a second.
Welcome back, everyone, to the last round of the Nerd Rage Gaming Locals. And I thought we were going to have Ursaluna, but we actually have Ursaluna as our backup game. And we instead here have, we have Troy as our backup game versus Lost Zone Box. But here we have the CEO of Chien Pao, Jared, playing against Rafal, who's kind of the Moon Master. Is that a thing?
Yeah,
Is that cool?
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, there's not many people who have kind of taken Moon to super high finishes in the way that Rafal has. So
Minus the guy who got second at Worlds. But if
Yeah.
you ignore him, I
Yes.
agree completely.
because Rafal's done it for a couple events now.
Yes. And Rafal, honestly, has been a master of this deck. And now trying something new in this Palkia Dustmar,
Yeah.
which, to be honest, is a very different strategy than the straightforward, like, Moon make things go boom that he's
Yeah.
been doing recently.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how Jared approaches this matchup because he played against the same matchup on round one. So I wonder if he's kind of approached his strategy a little bit differently and is kind of tweaking it.
Yeah. And I'm really curious to see who goes first because, as we've seen, man, that is a big determinant of who wins the game.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems that, Rob's going first.
All right. So does Roth go first and get Poke? Oh, we are
Oh, yeah.
cruising. All right. So we have double Nest Ball, which means we have outs to Palkia, to Squawkabilly EX, to Radiant Greninja, to Duskull, to just whatever Rafal wants to get.
Yeah, definitely. And even though starting the Spiritomb isn't really like the greatest thing in the world, I mean, it could be worse. Definitely,
is.
it's not like starting like Ursaluna like Eli did, you know. So
Well, that's it's not a liability. It's just kind of a dead card.
yeah, it's just like a dead card. It's not really used in the matchup. It would have been better probably in the discard pile than anything.
Or prizes.
Yeah,
If
or
you could
the
just
prizes.
prize it,
Yeah.
get it out of the way.
Yep, exactly.
But for Jared, being able to not start a two prizer is fantastic. And Nomad, yes, That is the Jared Grimes, who moved to Chicago. We're very
Yes.
happy to have him here. He's here with his girlfriend, Abby, who is an awesome person, too. She's super nice to play with.
Yeah, and for the fact that she's only been playing for not too long, and I think she's top 8 at like an event already. Like
Oh,
a League
yeah,
Cup
no,
and stuff
she's
like that.
absolutely playing better than either of us.
Yeah,
to be
I know,
honest.
right?
So it's really nice to see.
yeah,
All right,
definitely.
we do see the nest ball. I probably would have liked to see the heavy ball first.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the heavy ball first because that can kind of determine, what you get off of nest ball.
Yes, unless Rafal is thinking that there is nothing prize that he cares about, in which
Yes.
case,
And unless he did the prize checking for us.
yes, which
yes.
the man's probably more efficient than I.
Yeah.
And I will say, going into major regionals like Louisville, prize checking within reason is really important. You should. Oh, and there's the Squawkabilly EX. So you should know what resources you have available to you. So if it
Yeah.
means you only check 2 or 3 things, if it means you check everything, either is fine. Just make sure that you know what you are able to play around.
Yes, exactly. And, it's something that a lot of people are still kind of getting the hang of. I know I'm not perfect with prize checking, but everyone has their own way of doing it. So just being able to know what your strengths are with it is just very important.
Yes, and we do see the squawk getting rid of 2 Night Stretcher which
not-
hurts.
It definitely hurts, but I think it's necessary.
And this is a very, very good hand for a fall to find, at least to setup.
Yes, I really want to see the Puff and grab 2 Duskulls.
Yes.
Yep.
In this situation, I think 2 Duskulls is fine because Rafal knows that Palkia V-Star is not getting knocked out.
Yep.
And yeah, Jared, I mean, the dude's such a good player. He's going to
Yeah.
get a limitless page with a ton of things on there going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And it's cool to see that this new meta is definitely having a lot of players try out new stuff.
Yes. They're kind of forced to. So
Yeah,
fortunately,
they're definitely forced to. Like, we can't just one trick the same things every single time, but it definitely shows like the skill that goes into multiple things. And here going into Jared's next turn, he's got the Terapagos already. He's got Duskull, and he's gonna start flooding his board too. Hopefully to get like something like that Fan Rotom in order to grab Hoot Hoots and Noctowl.
and I think I'm curious about Jared benching the Terapagos. Maybe is it to get Rafal to like kind of reach to gust it up, or is there something else?
Yeah, it could be. And my question is, does the Fan Rotom need to be in the active in order to use the ability?
It does not.
It does not. So
It
he-
can just be
he
anywhere
could
on
just
the board.
straight up use it. Okay.
Yep. All right, and we are seeing that, and Rafal's probably like,
Ooh.
"Thank you, Lord Almighty," because this hand was trash.
Yeah. And do you think it was the right move to do the Iono before the Fan? Oh, actually, yeah, it is the right move because you want to have all the cards in hand.
Exactly.
Yes, I
Because-
recognize that.
Yes. Also, in this way too, Jared can use those nest balls to get a Hoot Hoot, and use the Fan Rotom to get more Noctowls
Yes.
and other things that he'd want to see.
Definitely. Did he draw into Area 0?
He did not, but he did draw into 2 nest balls, so
Okay.
he will be able to search some basics out if he decides to.
Yeah.
And so now, if you're Rafal, do you go for the ninja play?
I think you go for the ninja play. Yeah. I mean, unless I don't think is double boof able to be searched off of
It is.
Fan Rotom?
Uh,
I don't think the
I
HP
think
is
the
too high.
Boof have 110 or 130 HP.
Okay, so yeah, if there's no presence of double boof, then I think that Radiant Greninja is definitely the way to go here.
Yes, and the big reason why is, like we said, they have 100.
Oh, they have 100? That's
Oh,
crazy.
but we do see the double Hoot Hoot and double Pidgey for Jared. And so I'm guessing that means we have an Area 0 in hand.
Yeah, definitely. And it shows that he's really respecting the
No.
Greninja play here, maybe.
Just declining to go after the Noctowl. We
Yeah.
see the Radiant Greninja.
Is that Palkia V-Star?
That
That's
is Palkia
crazy.
V-Star.
Never punished.
Oh, and so now there's a question. Do you evolve up that Duskull? Sounds like the answer is yes.
Yeah.
See the attachment.
And I think Roth here is kind of looking for the long haul play here, where it's like get the Dusclops down and maybe not even use it until the next turn.
And I think that's the idea. So we're going
Yeah.
to see the Palkia V go into hand, and my guess is to be researched away.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not really needed at the moment. 1 energy is already on the Palkia V-Star, so being able to use 3 energy that are now in the discard pile to power up the Greninja is going to be huge.
It is. And so we see the research, draw 7. All right, let's see. Do we have anything else to help set up? Ooh, we
Yeah.
have the rare candy Greninja EX.
Oh, and that's going to be huge too, just because it could have also been used.
Sorry,
but
you see Jared going, it's
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah,
It's
pretty
pretty
good.
good.
Yeah,
All right, and we see the V-Star. And so once we move on to Jared's turn, I do want to hear why that Greninja EX is so good in this matchup. And do we think we go for 2 Hoot Hoots?
I think we go for. Ooh, part of me really wants to go for the Pidgey, but I think double Hoot Hoot's probably the right play here.
The other option would
Yeah.
be the
The,
Duskull,
the Duskull, yeah,
but I would really actually like to see the double Hoot Hoot.
yeah,
Sharper, I'm not opposed to the Duskull because I think that is such a threat to force an odd prize trade, but Rafal also has the Dusclops himself to get to reset that prize trade to
Yeah.
2 to even. And yes, I think Dusknoir Arctic is not a problem now, but it could be a problem real soon.
yeah.
All right, so we go into Jared's turn, and so Brian, talk to us about what Jared's doing this turn since he's not allowed to use Noctowl.
Yeah, so I mean, his main priority was to try to get something like the rare candy Pidgeot, but I don't know if he has anything like that in hand. So I guess if he's not able to get this Pidgeot of the active, I don't think he's really taking any prizes here.
No, and him exposing the Pidgey and not trying to move into something else, I think was a little bit damning because it kind of said, I don't have an out to Pidgeot. I
Yeah.
have an out to Noctowls,
Hmm.
so I'm going to protect those.
Yeah, and I do like the Fez coming down here just because it's going to give Jared's hand a little bit more strength. He might be able to find something like the rare candy there to get the Pidgeot in play, or maybe even something that can get him the area 0 so he can start attacking a little bit more aggressively.
Yes, and Sharper, to your point, Greninja EX being able to one-shot the Terapagos means Rafal isn't actually too upset if that Palkia V-Star gets one shot. It's just a second attacker he has available at this
Yeah,
point.
and the nice thing about the Greninja too is that it has a 1 energy cost, and it lets you search any card in the deck. It's
Which
like
is insane.
yeah, it's like you get a 170 damage attack that's helps into Terapagos, and then you get a 4 Seal Stone with it too.
Right, and
Yeah.
not even that, you one-shot a Terapagos
Yeah.
even with double Buffalo down.
I know, it's crazy.
That is terrifying.
Yeah,
And the nice part too for Rafal is if Jared does put down Area Zero, that Greninja EX is a terrestrial Pokemon.
yeah, it is. So it's something that can take advantage of the area 0, and that's something we didn't really realize the first game.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean,
We just
if-
didn't see it.
yeah, we didn't see the line just because I mean I think it was in the prizes or something like that. It wasn't really like an effect or anything like that. But now I'm wondering how Jared's gonna go about his turn here because after using the Fez, doesn't really have anything here to use.
CEO is considering retirement at that point, is what
Yeah.
I'm seeing, because he seems very distraught on
Yes.
what is the line.
Very distraught, but he's got Prime Catcher in hand, so I can see maybe a play to get the Squawk.
It's very possible, and he
Yeah.
could go for the 2 prizes. The only risk there is then Rafal comes back and uses
Yes.
Greninja EX to take 2 prizes,
That's very true.
and Jared's got to figure out how to close out the game.
Yes, definitely. And I think this is part of the reason why Jared's trying to flood the board is because he knows that this Terapagos isn't very safe. So if he has a way to get a secondary attacker, that's going to be very important.
It is. And so here's the tricky thing too. We were all just talking about whether or not it's better to knock out the Duskull. If Jared goes with the Dusknoir to one-shot the Palkia V-Star with Terapagos, Rafal will go down to 3 prizes remaining. Rafal has a Dusclops on board. If
Yeah.
Rafal evolves it to Dusknoir, he can take a 3-prize turn in response and close out the game on next turn.
Yeah, and this is what makes this deck so powerful is because a lot of these decks that are pretty much quote unquote 2 prize beat stick decks that are pretty much like, oh, I just need to go 2-2-2 and like win the game that way. Give more flexibility to when your opponents put you onto an odd prize map.
And Sharper, you're exactly correct. It's the same thing. If Jared uses a Dusknoir to take a 2-prize knockout, as long as that Dusclops had survived, Rafal would have been able to win the game. However, Jared didn't. We just knocked out the Dusclops.
Yes.
But this means that Jared goes down to 5 prizes remaining, and that is not sufficient to clear out Rafal's 2 attackers in the next turn.
Yeah. Definitely interesting to see. It seems that Jared's still not really satisfied with his current board state. Ultra Balls to get something else onto the board here.
Which I think
Yeah.
getting another turtle is a very, very good idea. So that way he's able to knock down next turn if this active gets knocked out and his hand gets disrupted.
Yeah, definitely like that. And being able to get pretty much that whole entire board state without Pidgeot, it's pretty impressive.
It really is.
Yeah.
And now, so Rafal has a choice of what to go in with. And Brian, Does Rafal knock out with Palkia or Greninja?
I think you go with Greninja here. It just seems like the more reliable attacker here, and it's so much harder to knock out. There's pretty much no world where Jared's able to knock out this Greninja.
I would agree. Well, he
Yeah.
would be able to do it while popping a Dusknoir, but I
Yeah.
think then it's important for Rafal to get down a Duskull, yes,
Yes.
to prevent Jared from being able to set up like a checkmate board.
Yes, and this is why that conversation you guys had in the middle of rounds was so important because
Yes.
now Rafal is conscious enough to put the the Duskull down and plan for the next turn.
Yes, he is lining up the play to make sure that he has outs. And so, do you think he gets down a second Duskull?
I would hope so. I would really like to see a
That's-
second one.
yeah, very
Just
reasonable.
because, like, if it gets gusted up again, it would be nice to see that go back up. So Rafal has a more cleaner checkmate board state.
The one thing to keep in mind is Jared cannot pop more than one Duskull next turn, assuming Rafal takes this knockout, because Rafal's going to go down to 2 prizes. Jared gets to pop 1, Rafal's down to 1 prize, and that's going to be all she wrote if he goes that route.
Yeah, and the thing that I want to see Rafal do is try to get that Palkia V-Star powered up. Just because if the play that Jared does is to do the Dusknoir into Terapagos knockout on the Greninja, it's important to have that final attacker ready
Yes.
in order to get the final knockout.
And I think with that V-Star already used for Rafal, it's going to be pure manual attachments from here, but
Yeah.
we got a bunch of Night Stretcher available. We've got Pheasantipity available to draw. There's going to be ways for Rafal to find it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely have no worries of Raf being able to.
He did
set up.
attach a Greninja this turn, yes. All right, and so we see the Earthen Vessel. If there's no energy in deck, I mean, that's fine, I guess. I don't know if I like seeing that play there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see a reason to thin out any more into the deck than you already have.
Well,
That's my main thing, and it's also I don't know. Do you hold the Pokestop?
so holding the Pokestop, I think, is fine. The other reason is, so when you use the Vessel, you are thinning the deck technically.
Yes.
However, you're removing an out from the deck that you would want to see off of a Roxanne, Iono, something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And so to me, then, that's the risk. Oh, we're seeing a concealed card. All right, so Rafal is just trying to dig as deep as humanly possible here and thin everything out.
Yeah, probably just so that anything that he draws into off a disruption is pretty much everything that he needs.
Yes. And so we see 2 Duskull down. So Rafal's in a very, very good position
Yes,
here.
I agree. I mean, he did pretty much everything that we were hoping to. You know, the double Duskull, has attackers ready to go, has I mean, he's got everything he really needs here, and he's able to take advantage of the.
Oh, and we're
Yeah.
actually going to use Shinobi Blade to knock out Pheasantipity and then bounce the Area 0 Underdepths. Go down to a board that is Radiant Greninja, Palkia V-Star, Pheasantipity, and 2 Duskull with the active Greninja EX. And man, that is a terrifying board.
Yeah, this was definitely a line that we weren't really seeing, but it's super good just because Raf's able to take off all of his 2 prize liabilities off the board, and either way, Raf's taking an easy knockout.
He is, and he did get rid of 2 Iono there, which is a little unfortunate, but we're able to search a deck for a 1 card, and then that is a very thin deck left for him.
Definitely.
So we still have Pheasantipity if Jared does take a knockout. Jared does not have sufficient Dusknoir available to set up a full combo turn, really, especially not with attacking with someone that's weak to fighting. So, man, Rafal's in a really dominating spot.
Yeah, definitely. And okay, so we finally get the Jewel Seek here.
To be clear, you are not allowed to evolve Pidgey into Noctowl, in case anyone is checking at home. But Jared now saying, like, man, what do I even get here?
Yeah, I mean, Raf is just so ahead here. And he's definitely
Yep, and Jared
Yep.
just scoops it up and says, there's nothing I can do
Nothing
to
you
get
can
away
do.
from this checkmate board.
And look, he's got Briar in there too, so definitely got some cool toys to play with in the deck.
Yes. And if Jared was a little bit closer, that Briar could have made a difference. But man, Rafal just ran him over.
Yeah, definitely.
So Palkia's got an out if you go first.
Yeah.
And then, Bryce, do we have a second game still? We do. So
Yeah.
we have our Lost Zone box versus Charizard EX. And looks like it has not been a pretty game for Charizard EX here.
Yeah.
So, wow, this is a brutal game because Nick just has game on board if Troy does not gust up that Roaring Moon EX.
Yeah, definitely. And It's definitely really tough for Troy right now here, as I'm trying to read the board here and see how we got to this situation here.
It's not great.
Yeah,
Doesn't seem like
definitely.
things have gone well. And that moon having no damage on it means it has not used frenzied gouging at any point.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Roaring Moon back in Lost Box. I feel like it's a um good supporting attacker in there, and that it's just not really used as much. Oh, and I think
No.
that's just game there.
And
Yeah.
Troy did not have the gust to clear out the Roaring Moon EX. We just see a frenzied gouging by Nick to take it down. So Nick, I believe, was 2-1. So Nick goes to 3-1. Troy goes to 3-1. And then we see Rafal at 4-0 take down locals today.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems that a lot of the guys here are ready for Louisville, or at least getting there.
We are trying. We are getting
Yeah.
ready. I know for those at home, I'm thinking Dragapult right now.
Yeah.
Because that is a real good deck. And honestly, it's just fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's one of those decks that really picks your brain and makes you really think.
Yes.
There's a lot of really cool outs, a lot of cool combos you can do. So definitely a really cool deck, and I was really glad to see it win over the weekend in Dortmund.
I love to. And also, I would love everyone else's thoughts of what are you guys all prepping for Louisville? Because I
Yeah.
know I will not be here next Thursday since we'll be driving down. But I know, Brian, you're going to be here, correct?
I'll be here. Yeah.
Yes, Brian will be here. Stream will still be here. And Sharper, Reggie Drago is actually, I don't know if you're going to be able to turn your brain off. That is
Yeah.
still a relatively big brain deck.
Yeah. Etchy, no leaks.
Hey, I had also, actually, let's be clear. You're
Yeah.
probably playing Lugia.
Yeah.
Am I right? You got to be playing Lugia. Oh, Drago with Owl. Now that is interesting.
Yeah,
And Ian
that's
Robb
the-
had a really cool list with a 1-1 knockdown.
Yeah, and Isaiah Bradner actually played that to Dortmund.
Yes.
Yeah.
He did. Actually, I'm not leaking anything. Everyone knows it. You literally told everyone this. And I think the Owl is cool, but so we talk about Reggie Drago.
Yeah.
We talk about a lot of these decks, and you just saw it played out there. Consistency is king.
Yes.
If your deck is able to do what you want over and over again in a best of 3, 13-round event, you're going to have the most success.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so, Brian, if you were going to Louisville, let me guess.
I'm playing Lugia.
You're playing
I'm
Lugia.
playing
Yeah, all right,
Lugia,
all right.
Yeah.
I'll forgive it, I guess.
Yeah.
But Lugia is in a legitimately good position. It's
Yeah.
super strong.
It definitely is. I mean, a lot of people are willing to flip coins, so they're rewarded if they do well with it. So
That is true.
if you're willing to take the gamble, it'll definitely treat you well.
And Sharper, I think actually Sinnoh and Haxorus are pretty good inclusions going into the weekend next weekend.
Yeah, I think Sinnoh is definitely a must. I did think the jamming tower is kind of cute, but I think going into it, if you want to beat Lugia, I feel like you need Sinnoh at the very least. Haxorus, I'm kind of like, it kind of depends on your matchup roulette, but Temple is definitely a must.
And I think Temple's going to be a must in a lot of decks that are trying
Yeah.
to counter, because also it's really effective against Terrapagos.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen it like pop up in a lot of like Charizard lists and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Temple of Sinnoh is definitely a very strong card.
And I think it'll be a good inclusion.
Yeah.
So we'll see what actually does well. But Brian, thank you much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thank you for being here too.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
fun. Bryce, thanks for running things. And from all of you, or from us, for all you who are watching, thank you all for joining us today. It's always great having you guys here. Like we're trying to build the stream. We should have a good piece of content coming out this week too on our
Yeah.
YouTube channel.
I don't know if there's many Snorlax fans out there, but our teammate Mo got second place at our 1K League Cup over the weekend,
Yes.
and he had a really cool list. So we'll definitely have an interview with him out pretty soon.
Yeah, we'll be talking through it. So thank you all very much for joining. Really appreciate it. We will be back next week with little content in between, and we will see you here next time on Nerd Rage Gaming.